Hey, all you cool cats and gamers! Welcome to Victory Lap, the GDQ Hoffa show that highlights recent world record and PB runs, and the runners who made them happen. I'm your host, Nuclear, and tonight I've got with me Kirby Master to showcase his new world record of Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. Before we get started, though, I do have a few announcements. Flame Fatales will be having its next all-women's speedrunning event, Flame Fatales, from August 21st to 27th. The marathon schedule is now out. Type Command FF in Twitch chat or go to gamesdonequick.com/framefatales for more info. Prize submissions are now open. Check the site for more information. Also, the One and Done-a-thon is coming up again, where you can show off your favorite run, and that's your only appearance at the One and Done-a-thon series. The schedule will be released tomorrow, July 29th. Tweet at GamesDoneQuick to let us know what you're hoping to see. All right, Kirby, so this is a world record run, but also it's the only run of this category?
Of this category, yeah. So like this kind of started off. So funny story. So I was at my parents' for about a month, and like I was listening to like a bunch of tier list reviews from somebody online Fire Emblem community, and like one of them was about this game, about a really weird idea to basically over level a unit so that he goes back to level 1 and just loop him into another class, which is just sounds like that sounds really absurd because you have to just do so much to get him to that point, but then it actually became the meta for like efficiency playthrough for the most part. So I tried playing like 4 or 5 hard mode casual playthroughs while at my parents' place, and then I'm like, let's try applying this to the speedrun. But like, there's no need for this kind of exploit or build in a normal mode speedrun because it doesn't really demand it. So I'm like, okay, let's try routing out the hard mode speedrun, and it works. And now I spent like 2 or 3 weeks at my parents' place playing on my 3DS, routing this out. And now we have this run that I've been probably working on for like the past 2 months roughly.
That's super interesting. Yeah. So we'll actually get to see what has come from all that routing that you did and this weird meta to, I guess, over level your units.
Pretty much. Like, and how this game works is that like every time you reach a certain level, you can reclass them to the next tier. And there's one class line where once you reach the end class, you can tier them back to villager, which is like the tier 0 class. And then you can like try to move them to a different class path again with all those level ups they gained, which doesn't sound practical because like you have to grind someone so much to do that, but it works out. And it's pretty hilarious. There
must be quite a lot of grinding in this for that to work out. But
there is grinding,
that is not what I expected to be the meta for this, because, you know, grinding takes a while, but
you'd be surprised like how efficient this is despite having that grinding. Well, there's a lot I can explain, but like I guess the first thing to explain about what this game is before we go into the mechanical stuff, because we can just start a run to explain the mechanical stuff, is that this is the third and last Fire Emblem game on the 3DS, and is a remake of the second Fire Emblem game, Fire Emblem Gaiden, which was on the NES. And that game is kind of considered a black sheep of the series, sort of like how Super Mario Bros. 2 was a black sheep of the series. This game has its core Fire Emblem, but it also has like dungeon crawling, really weird mechanics, and like map navigation, whereas like most Fire Emblem games, you just go map by map by map, as opposed to like go on the map. Like you have a map you have to clear, then you kind of travel to overworld, do another map, or you can explore a dungeon. That's what this game is. It has like dungeons and stuff like that. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. We have the timer on screen, so I'll just dive in. And this is ran on a 3DS capture. And this game features Alm and Celica. Alm's a green hair dude. Celica is the red hair lady, and they're both cute. And they're the 2 different protagonists, and the game kind of swaps back and forth between their stories, so you kind of control 2 different armies. And like, there's not too much to talk about in the actual gameplay. We have a prologue and a kind of a tutorial. So basically, if you see the splits, you can kind of see prologue, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 Alm, Act 3 Celica, and so on. So like, this game is kind of split into those acts, and like Act 1 is Alm's first segment, Act 2 is Celica's first segment, and then in Act 3 and 4, you can kind of control both of them. So yeah, this is a Fire Emblem game. It's a map-based strategy RPG game where you have a grid-based combat, you can move units around, and like, your goal is to kill everything in most maps, basically. So now we're starting Act 1 now, and we have a bunch of story flags we're trying to hit, so we're collecting stuff. So this game has like a point and click, first person kind of part, where like if you visit a village, you can kind of walk around, talk to NPCs, point at stuff to collect stuff, recruit characters and stuff. So that's what we're doing. We're just hitting a bunch of plot triggers, picking up some food, picking up some items to sell for money. That guy right there, Cliff, he is the MVP of this run. He is the guy we are going to grind. We are going to grind the heck out of him and just make him stupidly broken. So we're getting into the first actual map of the game, and almost every map in the game is a route map, meaning you have to defeat every enemy unit on the map. So like really quickly, let's see. This is difficult to draw. Maybe here. Yeah, this guy right here is Alm. He's a green hair nerd. And he's the main character of his route. I think this guy right here is Cliff. Enjoy my lovely drawing of this OBS layout. But yeah, that's Cliff. Our goal is to get him to level 3. So Alm is kind of like the early game guy who can kind of like weaken everyone nicely for our other scrubs to get some kills. So we're trying to have Alm weaken as many units as possible and feed Cliff as many kills as possible. So our goal is to get Cliff to level 3, and he's level 1 right now. So we want him to hit level 3 because that's the benchmark for him to reclass. Because right now he's the villager class, which is kind of the noob class. From the villager class, you have like 5 different male villagers have 5 different options they can branch off into from the villager class, and you need to be level 3 to even consider the next tier, basically. So we got him to level 2, and we're looking for a speed level up. And if you're not familiar with Fire Emblem, every single stat that every time you level up, each stat has a certain % chance of increasing. In Cliff's case, he has a 60% chance of getting speed. And we want him to have 3 speed here, because 3 speed allows him to double attack every unit on this map. Because the more speed you have than your target in this game, then that means you can double attack them, which is very important. Unfortunately, he didn't get that, but it's not too big of a deal. Minor time loss. So this is the second real map, and we are controlling this nerd named Lucas. He's not super relevant. He's just kind of there as a filler unit to help out. So one thing to note is enemy AI, understanding how enemy AI works is really important in this game, because when an enemy is at half HP or lower, they will usually run away to heal if they can. So like this heal tile, like up here, this thing here, is a heal tile. So if this is not blocked off, then weakened enemies will run to that. That's why I'm moving Lucas to the other heal tile, so that all these enemies that are weakened will not run away. They'll just keep attacking on enemy face and thus get themselves killed. And that's understanding that is key to going fast in this game, because there are a lot of times where enemies will just try to run away, and you want to prevent that if possible. So just now, Cliff hit level 3. That's the benchmark we need to get him to promote to the next tier. Which is just in time, because now we're entering our first dungeon, the dungeon portion of the game is kind of a portion where you kind of run around in third person. This part's going to be pretty short because we're just going to blitz for the next story map, but we will be visiting this dungeon a lot. This is Thief's Shrine, and we're going to be seeing this a lot. So running is fast, but initiating a dash into an attack like this repeatedly is a little bit faster. It has its pros and cons, and I'll get into that later. But for now, we're getting into the next story map. This is one of very few maps in the game where the objective is not to route. The objective is to just defeat the boss, which is this guy up here. So this map ends if we just kill him. So we're just going to throw Alm, our main lord, up there and just finish him off. We need another unit to help weaken the boss a bit so Alm can get the kill, because we still want experience on Alm too. We're going to need both Alm and Cliff to be good. Cliff's going to be the main carry, but Alm is also pretty important. So, after that battle, we're going to recruit this lady here named Silk, and she's going to be the most important support unit on Alm's side, because she's our cleric. Healers are important. We need to not die. And she also, well, I'll talk more about her later on, but for now, we are at a Mila Shrine, and we can reclass now. And since Cliff is at level 3, we reclassed him to the Mercenary class. You can see these ridiculous buffs he just got, with plus 5 skill, plus 8 speed, which is more hit and more speed. We also have another villager named Gray, who conveniently enough starts at level 5, so we can just promote him to the next tier immediately too. And we're making him a mage, because mages are very useful for short-term combat. He's gonna be benched almost immediately, but he's gonna be really handy for the short term. So what we're gonna do now is we're actually gonna get ready to grind. Because grinding's fun. This is like grinding is fun. Like this is actually kind of a fun part of the run because like it kind of scratches that casual itch of just trying to grind and grind and grind, honestly. So what we're doing is we're retreating with every unit not named Alm, Cliff, or Silk. And we're just gonna run in Thieves' Shrine, gather all of these bandits, and just engage in combat with all of them at once. So we're gonna be fighting 9 bandits per battle and just grind. Why? Because we want to get Cliff to level 7 as a mercenary. The mercenary line is kind of the sword wielding class where like they get really good speed and skill, and they use swords. There are pros and cons to the other class lines, but like the mercenary class is like there's a reason why you really want a mercenary, and Cliff is picked as the main carry, which I'll get into later. But yeah, we're just gonna literally grind. So experience distribution is really important in this part because we need to get Cliff to level 7. That's the top priority, and we want to do that within 4 battles. Silk the Cleric is also, we want to prioritize kills on her too, because he wants to eventually hit level 7 to learn a spell called Warp, which teleports a unit far away, and that's important. So yeah, we just did our battle number 1. We made a short detour to pick up an iron sword, and like in this game, units don't have like equipment lists. They can only carry 1 item at a time, whether that be just a healing item or a shield or a weapon. Depends. Right now we just gave Cliff the iron sword, which is just, it basically just gives him +2 might with 90 hit, so it's a pretty solid weapon for the early game, and this helps his damage output quite a bit because in the Fire Emblem series, 1 attack is 1 damage, so like every point really matters a lot more than like say in an standard RPG where you see like +1 in a set that doesn't mean much. But like in this game, like 1 attack means 1 damage, 1 defense means 1 less damage, literally. So this is our second battle. We're just grinding. So like we actually gave Silk 2 speed from the stat boosters because that allows her to double attack. Because Silk is using a really bad spell called Nosferatu. And that allows her to heal herself per hit, but it's really inaccurate. It's very weak. It's ridiculously inaccurate with 60% with a 60% hit rate. But like, if she can double attack with it, she has 4 chances to hit it and heal herself. So like, she's almost always going to survive no matter what. Because like, chances are she's gonna heal herself if 2 units attack her, and she has 4 chances to attack them and heal herself. So like, giving her extra speed just really lines up nicely for both her offense and her survival while grinding her up. So, yeah, we're just basically prioritizing kills on Cliff, putting him in the front, kind of having Silk right behind him. Enemies will tend to prioritize attacking Silk because she has less defense. Enemies prioritize dealing damage. So, they'll typically go after Silk, so you kind of have to be careful about how the enemies prioritize which units over which units.
I will take care of this.
So that's more grinding. I guess this is a short time to go over the class lines. The reason why we use Cliff is because he's the best unit in the game. Like, a lot of casuals will recommend making him a mage. Don't do that. Please do not do that. That is, Mage Cliff is terrible. He's just so bad. It works, but like, Cliff is like, he's just so broken. Like, and anyone who's tried Mercenary Cliff can attest to how broken he is as a mercenary. Like, he's just very good. The thing that people will usually recommend you do is like make Gray your mercenary, which isn't bad on paper because like Gray's weakness is speed, so you can fix his speed by making him a mercenary. But like, it doesn't really work out in practice because like, it doesn't work out as well as like the other candidates in practice because Gray just is stuck at mercenary speed without getting more speed on top of that, which you kind of want. And like, he also just has a terrible resistance stat, which goes to 2, and that's actually really important in this game, whereas Cliff has 8 resistance, which is a pretty big deal. So yeah, like I highly recommend just making your mercenary Cliff because like Cliff is just really good as a mercenary in general. So this is the last battle where this is our last chance to get Cliff to level 7 before we start losing time, basically, because we want to do this in 4 battles. And whatever leftover experience, we kind of want to feed it to Alm and or Silk, because we want experience on Alm as well, just so he's better in general. But that is the last grinding battle we're doing before getting Cliff to level 7. So now that he's at level 7, we can reclass him to the Myrmidon class. The Myrmidon class is pretty much the mid-tier class. So like when you pick the mercenary class line, you go from villager to mercenary to Myrmidon to Dreadfighter. Dreadfighter is the endgame class. Myrmidon is like the mid-tier class, and you're kind of, most people become a Myrmidon. When people play this game casually, they get a Myrmidon by like the end of Act 1 or like early Act 3. We have a Myrmidon at the start of Act 1 at this point. So we have a mid-tier class at the point where we're supposed to just be entering our early tier class. So we're doing one more quick grinding battle because like we want to get Cliff to level 10 by the end of Act 1. And to do that, we still need one extra grinding battle to get him to level 10. And we might as well do that now so we can benefit from the stat ups we get immediately as opposed to very end of Act 1. So, oh yeah, you can kind of see P. Vladius in the chat. He kind of knows a lot about this game. Honestly, like a lot of the routing that's been done here was also thanks to him and Gordon because they're both very experienced players at this game. So kudos to both of them for helping out a lot and giving a lot of ideas.
They never stood a chance.
But that's the grinding session. So at that point, we are going to exit the dungeon, and Cliff is now at level 7. I mean, well, he is now a Myrmidon, and now we're doing that first actual story battle after about 6 or 7 minutes of grinding. And the grinding went well. Like optimizing how well the grinding goes comes down to like making sure you manage your experience properly, and trying to make sure as little experience as possible is wasted. So this map is the next story map. So you can kind of see, let's see, this guy up here, this guy up there, he is a mercenary. He sucks because he's really fast and hard to kill. And he has a leather shield, which gives him a lot of defense. So it's really hard to deal any damage to him. But we are going to have Gray, our short-term mage, and Silk, our white mage with Nosferatu, to march up that mountain and take him out. And meanwhile, Alm and Cliff are going to be taking on these pirates here. So again, if you need a reminder about the heal AI, you need to keep in mind when the enemy is at half HP or lower, they are gonna run away to a heal tile if possible. And there's like a heal tile like all the way up there off screen. So like enemies that are weakened, such as let's see, drawing on this is hard. Such as this guy here, that guy's gonna be running away, for example. So our goal in this to go quickly in this map is to make sure that like we finish off as many enemies in heal AI mode as possible so they can't run away. And that's why you see me prioritizing the weakened units. Preferably we give as many kills to Cliff as possible, but it's not a big deal if Alm gets kills too. So the mercenary that was up there went down pretty quickly. It can be pretty unreliable because Gray's hit rate is 80% and Silk's is 60%. Which if you're trying to land 4 of those, it's not exactly reliable, so you kind of have to figure things out from there. But it worked out, though.
They never stood a chance.
This map actually went pretty well, all things considered. Yep.
So I know you've expressed to me that Fire Emblem games some of them have a lot of spaghetti involved, as you like to say. Is this one of those games that there's a lot of spaghetti?
Pretty polished in general, honestly. Like the 3DS Fire Emblems in general are pretty polished in terms of like glitchiness and stuff. Like there are glitches in them, but like this game runs pretty smoothly for the most part. So
okay.
Like there are almost like no bugs in the speedrun, for example.
You're almost as dashing as I am.
We're seeing a lot more optimization in terms of your fights and the tactics and such. And
like there isn't really much. Units. There isn't like too much to worry about with respect to like lag or really long loading times and stuff. Which makes this run like pretty long if you think about it that way, because like the loads aren't really that bad in this game, but it's still like an almost 2-hour run. Whereas if you compare it to like Three Houses, which has over 30 minutes of loads in a 70-minute run, if you think about it, that's only about 30 to 40 minutes of actual gameplay. And like the other 3DS games, their speedruns are like less than an hour without as much loads. So, like this game is definitely like one of the biggest Fire Emblem speedruns in terms of like an actual gameplay perspective. Oh yeah, we just saw Warp. I'll show that really quickly. So we got Silk to level 7, the little cleric. And now she can use Warp. And we're gonna yeet Alm into that little cave there to take this nerd out, because otherwise we have to go all the way around to take him out. And that's really annoying and slow. We can choose to use Gray the Mage. He's this guy right here, but like we kind of don't want to get experience on him because we're not using him anymore after this map. He's just purely a short-term filler to help out with magic. Yeah, now everyone's dead. Cool. This chapter went very smoothly, honestly. Like, sometimes it's really easy for Gray or Silk to die because someone gets a crucial miss. Hit rates tend to be pretty unreliable in this game, so like usually you have to improvise a lot in case someone misses or have a flowchart of backups memorized. So now we're kind of entering another fortress. We're just picking up a lot of items. Not much to say except let me go back and show something really quickly. Point something out. Yeah. Wine, that's just money. And drinking water is healing. That's a weapon. We're just gonna sell that later on. And that weapon right there is like the most broken weapon in early game. Like, okay, so to put things into perspective, I think Cliff right now has like 11 attack power. With an iron sword, he has 13 physical attack. The lightning sword ignores your attack stat, but it has 15 magic attack. And most enemies have like 1 or 2 resistance at this point. So that means you're assuming you double attack them, which you will because Cliff's really fast. You're probably doing like 25 to 30 damage per round of combat with the lightning sword because you're pretty much just doing a flat 15 magic damage per hit. And it's also a 1 to 2 range, meaning you can attack at 2 range as well. And like, it is such a game-breaking weapon. We are pretty much just going to be using the lightning sword for like the first half of Almside. So almost all of Act 1 and half of Act 3 for Almside, because it's just that game-breaking and that good. And you're about to see it put into action here. So like, you get to see some fast menuing here. Yay, menu. All right, so this map, we're gonna be using a quick warp here. This strat we're doing here requires Cliff to have at least 8 defense, which he is at. That means he needs to gain at least 1 point of defense after promoting to the Myrmidon class, which is a 35% chance per level. So he has like 4 chances to get, he has roughly 4 chances of like a 1/3 chance to get defense. The reason why is because 8 defense guarantees he can survive getting hit by literally everything. And if you look at the combat parameters here, Lightning Sword is doing 15 damage per hit. If he was using a normal sword, he'd probably be doing like 7 or 8 damage per hit. But no, he's just killing this guy in one round of combat with the Lightning Sword. And then everything here, besides the boss, is just going to melt because the Lightning Sword is just that broken. There we go, everything's dead. Finish the boss. There are 2 more enemies on the left side. They will also just die to the Lightning Sword if we just end turn, and the map's done. So, and like it helps that we have a really over-leveled Cliff that's like a tier higher than what he's supposed to be at this point after the grinding session we just did.
They literally didn't even have a chance. They just disappeared.
So yeah, another map here. So again, Cliff can just 1-round KO every Cavalier on the bottom half of the map. There's a bunch of Cavaliers, horse units, on the upper half of the map that are a bit beefier, so Cliff actually can't 1-round KO them with the Lightning Sword. They have like 32 HP or something like that. So like the problem with this set of units here is that what we're doing, if we use the Lightning Sword, we're not gonna be able to kill them. We're gonna bring them down to really low HP, and then again, heal AI is a thing, so they're all just gonna run away, and we don't have a way to stop that. And they're also very mobile, so we can't catch up to them. Like, we don't want to do too much damage to them, but we can't 1-round KO them either. So what we want to do is we want to like weaken as many as possible to the point where they're not at heal AI. So like we want to use Cliff with a weaker weapon, make sure that they're like just above half HP, so that they won't run away, and then we can just finish them off in the next enemy phase. Now, that actually didn't work out because let's see if I can draw this. Drawing's difficult. These 2 Cavaliers here, they are supposed to be at above half HP. Cliff got some crits on them, which is bad, because now they're just going to run away. So this is a minor time loss. In this case, I just have to manually kill them, which is what I'm about to do here. So, because I'm better off just killing them. You can kind of see me fumbling around a bit, because I have never been in this situation before. So I'm like, okay, what's the best option for me to do here? Okay, my best thing to do is just finish them off right now before they run away. So I'm just creating some weapons around so Alm and Cliff both finish them off, and now these 2 are both low on HP as well, so we're just gonna finish them off on our player phase. So this actually didn't go perfectly. It's a minor time loss, it's not a big deal. Just kind of have to know what to do in those scenarios and understand heal AI. So like, that's the key to running this game, just understanding how the enemy AI works. So yeah, now we're entering the next dungeon, Deliverance HQ. This is pretty much just a plot trigger. all intents and purposes. We can recruit. This is the what's it called? We're gonna make a short detour in this map where we're gonna go ahead and pick up a chest with the iron bow. Unfortunately, that enemy right there is just luck. We just got in an extra encounter that we don't want to be in. This is both good and bad. It's ultimately bad because it's just flat time loss, but like, we also, again, we want to get Cliff to level 10 by the end of this act. We only have one more story map, so like, this is a nice excuse to try to get him a little bit of extra experience to help with that. So like, this is ultimately bad, but you just have to make do with what you got and just try to get that experience on him. So yeah, that iron bow we just got is going to be used way later in the run, like 40 minutes from now in Act 3. And now, that jerk right there sucks, because usually you can squeeze by him with a little gap on the right side, but unfortunately he just kind of stopped in the middle instead of the left side, so we get in another encounter here that we don't want to be in. This is roughly overall like a 30-second time loss. Can't be helped. The best thing for us to do is to just kind of get more experience on care about. So you can run in this game, but you cannot run until it's turn 3. So, and since these enemies die so quickly, we're better off just killing them all. So yeah, 2 encounters that we didn't really want to get into, but can't be helped. It happens. All right, so now we hit a plot trigger. We just recruited Clive. He's a really interesting unit because like he gets a lot of crap for his stats, and like his stats do kind of suck, but like they're still just enough to get by as a cavalier, especially if you're given the right weapons. And so like he tends to be the kind of unit who's really underrated in my opinion. Especially because like he just has a pretty good bulk, pretty good mobility, and he's also really easy to reclass into the next tier in his paladin line. But we're not going to use him much in the speedrun though. Because again, in the Fire Emblem speedrun, you want to low man as much as possible. So this is the last map of Act 1. And again, Cliff is at level 8 with 88 experience. He is gonna hit level 10 because we got into 2 extra encounters. But if we didn't get into those encounters, he'll usually be around level 8, 40 experience, something like that. Again, our goal is to kill everything here. So all these archers are really annoying. So like these archers here, and let's see. Oh my goodness, drawing on this is hard. Well, you can kind of see all the archers for yourself. Archers have 1 to 3 range, and if they have a real weapon, they have 4 range. You're not going to counterattack that. So every single archer typically means we have to spend some sort of player phase to kill them.
Don't worry about me.
So I'm using some auto battling here to try to manipulate some kills. Have the AI kill the archers for me. Again, Cliff is using the lightning sword, which is 1 to 2 range, so he can actually attack these archers from across the wall like this. And his hit rates are not that great because all of these indoor tiles give plus 20 avoid. Like Cliff's hit rates are typically around like 70, which is roughly the same as Pokemon Thunder, so have fun with that. Like that's a double 70 that we just landed. Technically it's a little bit higher than 70, but I'll get into that when we have some more downtime. So, if we didn't get into those extra encounters, we really want to focus experience into Cliff. But we got into extra encounters, so we don't have to really worry as much. One thing to note, let's see. This boss here, that boss right there, we want to feed that kill to Cliff because he gives a lot of experience, and also killing him makes this boss up here retreat, and he's like impossible to kill basically, and hits really hard. So we want him to run away. So it's important to try to get rid of Slay, the boss at the bottom, as soon as possible, preferably with Cliff, which we did. And now he hit level 10, so now he can reclass to the Dread Fighter class. We'll get into that later. And we're just kind of running around picking off units. So again, hit rates suck. Your hit rates are usually around 70-ish. So like you're gonna miss something at some point, and that's just how it is. Yep. And we just try to clean up. So also this nerd right here, that right there is a Arcanist. That one right there. They use magic. Magic hits hard. Who would have thought? And unlike most Fire Emblem games that you might be familiar with, units do not have a resistance stat. Cliff's chance to gain resistance from a level up is literally 0%. Alm's chance of gaining resistance is 3%. In other words, magic just hits you really hard, no matter what. Which is why Cliff's resistance stat is actually pretty much a standout trait compared to other male villagers, because he has 8 resistance, The other male villagers have 2 and 5, I think, which adds up. Like, especially if you fight like 5 magic units at a time, that's like 15 less damage you're taking out of probably like 30-ish HP. So it's a pretty big difference. So we got Cliff to level 10. We are literally going back to the grinding shrine. Not to grind, but to reclass Cliff to Dread Fighter. And by the way, this is the early game. We are just wrapping up literally the first act, and we just got Cliff to an endgame class. So, reminder, Dread Fighter is the class you're supposed to be at by the end of the game. And now, we have a Dread Fighter in early game. So, we'll go over what the Dread Fighter does later, but... because we're not going to see him in action anymore, because we're about to wrap up Alm's side of Act 1, and we're about to switch over to Celica soon, but...
Retreat!
Act 1 is really just focused on like making sure Cliff can get to the appropriate level benchmarks. So we can get him to the Myrmidon class and then the Dread Fighter class in time. We're kind of making a quick visit to some rooms here to get some money and healing resources. Sometimes picking these things up is kind of difficult. But we're kind of just hitting a bunch of story triggers. Like the story is basically like Alm's like, oh, I need to like go save Sophia. I've been called to do this. And he finds his adoptive grandfather here, and he doesn't know it yet, but that guy's not his real grandfather. Spoiler alert. And now we move on to Celica's side. So we didn't really talk too much about Alm because there's just a lot to talk about in this game. Alm's kind of just okay, but Celica's she's a lot more offensively oriented Alm. And she uses magic unlike him, but her issue is that she is not bulky. She's bulky enough, but enough isn't enough in the speedrun. So like Alm has a 50% chance to gain defense per level up, for example. Celica has a 35% chance, and in the speedrun, defense is the most important stat in this game. If you don't have defense, you die. If you don't have enough defense, you have to waste turns healing, which is less offense. And in this game, just due to the nature of how this game works, like you're facing like 4 to 8 enemies per turn oftentimes. So like each point of defense is like 4 to 8 extra damage you're taking per turn, and it just adds up so quickly. And like if you look at Celica's HP, she only has like 20 HP. 20 HP, literally, yeah. So she did not get defense, unfortunately, but she still got a pretty good offensive level. So that was apparently a really rare drop. I've never seen that before. That actually messes up some menuing later on, but oops, oh well. See, that was just kind of a map encounter that's kind of forced on you. And now we want to kind of travel by sea. So we're kind of just hitting a bunch of plot triggers again. And this old man's like, no, I'm not taking you on my boat unless you hire a mercenary. So Celica's gonna go ahead and find this nerd named Saber. That's the guy. He's gonna be another MVP of the run. Because we're going to do something similar to him as we did with Cliff. So Saber is already a mercenary. We're going to try to get him to the Myrmidon class, which is the mid-tier class, by the next dungeon, basically. So we want to get him to level 7. We don't really have a convenient way to like grind him, so we kind of have to try to give him kills as we go through these story maps. And again, experience management is very tight in general. So like what we're going to kind of do here is kind of leapfrog Celica and Saber like this. So like we kind of have them both blocking the bridge, and the Saber kills off the pirate in the front. Celica replaces it, and then attacks something, and we just repeat. So next turn, Celica kills a unit in front of her, Saber goes up front, and we keep repeating. So like we kind of want to have Celica do as much work as possible, because she is just better than Saber offensively in general. But we also want to try to like find opportunities to get Saber experience. So like ultimately this kind of is a balancing act of trying to give Saber kills, but also go fast as Celica. Because we don't want to like go too slow, because like there's a degree of overkill experience where you're just gonna lose time if you do go out of your way too much. But like we also need experience. So that was a very good level up, by the way. Again, defense is the most important stat in the speedrun. And we got 1 defense on Celica, and we got 1 on Saber as well. I think Saber has a 40% defense growth. Maybe 35, I don't remember. It's one of the better ones in the game, off the top of my head. So, this map is pretty scary, because I'll explain it once we start. What we're kind of doing is kind of setting up a wall with Celica, who's like up here because there's this guy right here. That guy right there is really dangerous. He's really fast. He will double attack everyone, and he has 12 attacks, so Silica has 5 defense. So he's doing 7 damage per hit, so he's doing 14 damage per turn on Silica at the moment, I think. And he's just very scary. And he also has a leather shield, so he's also very bulky. The entire point of this formation is so that we can lure, let's see, these 3 pirates right here around the other side, while we have the rest of the group kind of go after Silica from the north. The reason why is so that Saber can just get some extra kills without really wasting time. So we lured the boss up to Silica, and now we're going to kill the boss with Silica. And in this formation right here, we'll wait on our level up, which is probably good. Yep, attack and defense. That's what we want to see. So we have this formation here because this archer right here is going to really want to attack Jenny, our healer, which I forgot to mention who that is. Jenny's the healer. She's the girl with the staff right now. Because the archer does, again, enemies like to deal as much damage as possible. But there's only one tile for the archer to attack from. So the archer is going to move to this tile right here to attack Jenny, which is convenient because Jenny can counterattack with her magic and deal a little bit of damage to him because he's forced to attack at 2 range. And then he'll also be conveniently right next to Silica, so Silica can finish him off. So you're about to see that next turn. There we go. Now the archer's up front. We finish him off with Silica. That problem's taken care of. Saber gets experience. That problem's taken care of. And now we just kind of tank the front and just have Silica keep tanking this mercenary while killing off pirates from the back with magic. And then we just keep chipping away at the mercenary on enemy phase until Silica's able to finish him off with magic. And just pray that she gets defense.
I'm ready for
Now that he's weakened enough, we're just gonna finish him off with fire, which is 80% hit, and he's doing 15 damage, so that's just enough to kill him. There we go. So stats to watch out for on Silica's level ups. Defense is by far the most important, but we also want to have as much attack and speed as possible. In the short term, we really want her to hit 11 speed, which is a really hard benchmark for her to hit, because that means she needs to gain 7 speed levels out of about 6 or 7. Did I say that right? 4 speed levels out of 7 or 6 or 7 levels. So over half of her level ups have to be speed, and she has a 50% growth, I think? 50% chance? 50% chance. So you have to win slightly more coin flips than average for her to hit the speed benchmark she wants to hit. It's not required, but it will save quite a bit of time if she does.
I'm ready for anything.
All right.
All right. So what we're doing here is this is a defeat boss map. So this is again one of few maps where we don't have to kill every unit on the map. We just have to kill the boss, who's at all the way up north. You can kind of barely see him right there. So we're gonna have Silica kind of just march around like this and just finish him off. Meanwhile, we're gonna have Saber, who's down here, just kind of block this choke point and just try to get as much experience as possible. So that's kind of the objective of this map. Get Silica to the north to beat the boss, beat Saber as many kills as possible. So we're kind of doing a similar exploit with the archer as what we did before. So this archer that's right here really wants to attack Bowie, our male mage, who's right there. And the reason why is because Bowie's really slow right now. So he actually just gets double attacked by the archer. And the archer has 3 range right now. So he's just going to attack Bowie. And the only way for him to attack Bowie is from, let's see, this tile here or this tile right here. Either way, he's going to be attacking Bowie from next to Saber, which is convenient because now Saber can just keep hitting the archer without unblocking the choke points. And then the archer's just going to keep attacking Bowie from there. Normally these enemies would be running away because they're all in heal AI mode, but then there's 2 heal tiles. One of them is already blocked off by a mage at the bottom, and another one's blocked off by the boss. So all these enemies here are just getting themselves killed on Saber, despite the fact that they're at below half HP.
I don't want to be picky, but listen.
So, kind of chugging along, and unfortunately,
I'm a big fan of these wall tactics going on here.
Yeah, we're just, if we didn't care about feeding Saber kills, we would just undeploy literally every unit and just have Silica bunga forward and give every kill to her. But getting Saber kills is pretty important because we want to get him to level 7. Like normal mode, so this is the hard mode speedrun. The normal mode speedrun is basically just a Silica solo. Which we can do for like half of Silica's route for hard mode, but then you bump into a lot of issues later on where Silica solo just isn't enough to get by. So the hard mode speedrun kind of demands training up a mercenary, basically, instead of trying to bunga the entire run with Silica alone, because she just can't handle the enemies. So, we're grabbing some weapons. We picked up a cog. We haven't explained that mechanic, but I think we haven't gotten the chance to explain the mechanic that the cog is important for, but I think we'll get to that in this map soon. Okay, so we just got a steel sword and an iron sword, so now Saber and Silica can have some better offensive physical attack power. And this map only has one enemy on the map, except this nerd right here is a Cantor. He has a random chance every 2 or 3 turns to summon zombies, and the number of zombies he summons is random. He can summon between 3 to 7. More is bad, if it wasn't obvious, because more means we get blocked off more easily. And like, for all intents and purposes, this is basically a defeat boss map, because if we kill the Cantor, all the zombies die. So we just got unlucky here. He summoned 7 zombies, which is the most possible, I think. But like, we're just trying to chug forward, make sure we can have a path clear, and then eventually try to kill the boss. So this is one of the worst maps in the speedrun, because like, there's just so much that can go wrong. Like, one of the issues is that this boss is on a supply tile, and supply tiles give 20 avoid. I want to say maybe 40. I don't remember off the top of my head. It's enough to the point where physical attacks will have like a 50% hit rate, which is bad. Although I never mentioned that magic ignores terrain. So like, Silica has the fire spell, for example, and fire has 80 hits. So fire will ignore the terrain buff that the boss has, as opposed to trying to use physical attacks, which will probably have like roughly 40 to 50 hit. The other thing you can kind of notice, I have this pause so you can kind of see the combat forecast, is that we had learned a second spell called Seraphim, which is really good because it has 90 hits, and it's a lot stronger than fire. And you can kind of see that 90 hit kicking in here because the boss is, again, magic is ignoring terrain. And it's a really beefy hit, but the problem is that magic costs HP. Fire costs 1 HP. Seraphim costs 4. That's a lot of HP. And if we had 11 speed, we can double attack this boss with Seraphim and just do a massive amount of damage. But we do not have 11 speed. So instead, I guess we're just clearing out some zombies first. And I guess I can point out the hit rate with Saber really quickly. Let me see if I can backtrack a little bit. Yeah, we're using Seraphim again. That guy off. Yeah, so right there, that's a hit rate with a steel sword on the boss at the moment. 44 hits. Yeah, yeah. You really don't want to rely on that, but like, we just don't have we don't have many options to handle the boss at the moment. But the good news is that this boss gives a massive amount of experience. Like, even if you just smack the boss once, Saber gets like 20 experience for chipping. And again, we want to get Saber to level 7, which he just did. So, and the game's just kind of telling us, oh, now you can reclass him to the Myrmidon class. So, yeah, so I think this is me trying to figure out like the best option to go from here, because the boss is also healing 5 HP per turn, and this boss is a massive pain in the ass.
I got this.
Yeah, you can kind of see things not going too well. You just kind of have to just wail at him and hope you hit. And there's not much you can do about it. So you just kind of have to pray, which is why 11 speed is a really important benchmark, because that just helps the reliability of killing this boss so much. Right there, I was trying to YOLO a hit, because like, I think my objective here, let me go back a little bit. So yeah, right now we can hit him twice with fire, and fire with Silica with fire can double attack him with 10 speed. Whereas you need 11 speed to double attack with Seraphim. So like, double attacking with fire is still better than using a physical attack. We can do some decent damage, and then right here, you can see me thinking about like, maybe I should go for this risk. Since I'm speedrunning, I don't like pay attention to the forecast that carefully. I'm just like, oh, he hit 0. I'm just gonna go for it and try to risk it. You can tell that this doesn't end well. Saber's dead. And Jenny dies. So now is an important time to talk about a mechanic called Mila's Turn Wheel. If you play 3 houses, this is similar to Divine Pulse, where you get to undo actions. So that's a really convenient skill and allows us to take risks like that as long as we don't get the main character dead, because if Silica dies, that's just flat out game over.
All
But
right.
and that's what the cogs we picked up earlier for are, because when you have the meanless turn wheel, you get up to 3 cogs, which means you can undo stuff up to 3 times. Each cog adds 1 extra attempt, basically. So we have 2 cogs, so we have 5 uses of meanless turn wheel, I think. But yeah, we finally killed a boss. You can kind of tell from the massive amount of time lost. We lost a lot of time on this, but that's just kind of the nature of the speedrun. It's ridiculously volatile. You can end this map in like 30 seconds if you're really lucky. Because like if you get a really lucky crit with Seraphim, you could just kill the boss on like turn 4, and that's it. But like, he obviously didn't do that. This map is also really another reason why we want Silica to hit 11 speed, because this is the first map where we're seeing Necro Dragons. And they're very scary, and they're very difficult because they're really tanky.
I'm ready for
And one property of the Seraphim spell is that it's holy. So, Seraphim has how much... I don't remember how much might it has like, off the top of my head, but like if a weapon or spell is effective on an enemy, then it has triple might. So like I can go back really quickly to demonstrate that.
All right.
Like, these Necro Dragons are really tanky, physically. They even have some resistance, I think, but...
I'm ready for any.
Yeah. Okay, I'm menuing way too quickly, but if you saw that, Seraphim has 7 might. So that means her attack power with Seraphim is Silica's attack plus 7. And that's her magic damage with it, minus the resistance. Since Seraphim is effective on these Necro Dragons, that means its might is tripled. That means instead of 7 might, Seraphim has 21 might, meaning it's doing 14 extra damage compared to normal. So you can kind of see the massive amount of damage she's doing. 36 attack on these Necro Dragons because Seraphim is effective on it. If it wasn't effective, she would have minus 14. 22 attack instead of 36, which is still a decent amount, but just not enough for these dragons. And you can see why double attacking them is really important, because if she couldn't double them, then she's only killing them halfway, and it's going to take her 4 turns to kill these 2 Necro Dragons, as opposed to 2. But she's at 11 speed, barely, so she can just double attack them and sweep them.
Nice going, lass.
Unfortunately, we're going to see the first death in a run, because we're sacrificing May as bait.
Ready to move out.
Dude, finish off the other Necro Dragon.
That
So,
was a close call.
if you're a May fan,
Is everyone-
rest in peace. And now we're reaching this dungeon called the Seabound Shrine. This is an optional dungeon, by the way. We do not have to visit this dungeon
Got it.
at all. But we are in this dungeon for a few reasons. One, Saber is level 7. We want to promote him. So we're going to try to reclass him to the Myrmidon class, which again,
Excuse
me.
Scared off by
in the Mercenary class line, you go from Mercenary to Myrmidon to Dreadfighter. Myrmidon is kind of like the mid-tier class. So we're going to do that now. We're doing a short quest here, actually. We're giving some meat to this fisherman who gives us 30 silver. Money management's important for later on. It's not relevant for now, but it's going to be important later on. So yeah, now we see Saber becoming promoted to the Myrmidon class. I never really explained how the promotion gains work. So if you see these promotion gains right here, what the game does when you promote or reclass is that if your stats are lower than the class's stats, then your stats will get bumped up to that. What does that mean? So Saber had 10 attack, and the Mercenaries class base is 11 attack. So if Saber had 10, 9, 8, 7 attack, he's going to go up to 11 attack, period. Which is why like level ups on like Saber or Cliff aren't as important, at least before they become a Dreadfighter, until they become a Dreadfighter, because like if Saber gets really speed screwed, it's going to get bumped up to 14 speed in this case anyways. Or if Saber is still at like 4 or 5 defense, it's going to get bumped up to 7. So like if you get stat screwed on Saber, it'll generally get fixed. Now, of course, it's better to like be really blessed. Like I'd rather have like 10 defense on him right now instead of having his defense be fixed. But it is a nice fail-safe, basically. And helps with the reliability a lot. So Saber is currently speed blessed. Like usually he gains 1 or 2 speed from that promotion, but like he's at 15 speed, and the Myrmidon base speed is 14, I think. We're giving Celica some HP because again, bulk is the most important stat in this game, and we want HP on her because 1, it's more bulk, and 2, it means she can cast more spells because spells cost HP. Yeah. And again, just running is a little bit slower than like dashing, attacking repeatedly. The rhythm is a little bit awkward to get the hang of, but there's pros and cons to both. Just running is a lot easier and more consistent, but like doing like running and dashing and attacking repeatedly like this is faster and also lets you make sharper turns. You usually want to do this if possible, but it is harder to control. So one thing we're doing with Saber right now is we want to get him to level 10. So basically, we want to do the same thing that we did with Cliff. Get Saber to level 10 to get him to Dreadfighter by the end of Act 2. Saber's level 1, and this shrine right here gives 2 levels. If you're playing casually, don't do this. This is a massive waste of experience. This is a huge waste of experience casually because like your rate of gaining experience drastically drops down when you hit like level 7, 8, 9. So, like you're much better off casually coming back here at like level 7 or 8 and using those experience shrines because no matter what level you're at, you're getting 100 experience. So like it's a lot more experience efficient to give those experience shrines to Saber when he's at like level 7 or 8. But like he's gaining experience really quickly, so this is honestly a massive waste. But this is a speed run, and backtracking that back there just costs way too much time. So that's not applicable. So we're better off just giving him the experience shrines now because we just don't want to go back there ever again because it costs so much time. So this map's really funny. If you blinked, you probably just saw all these pirates just die. We also got a blessed sword, which I forgot to mention. That's probably that is probably one of the most important weapons for Celica because it's a really accurate sword with a little bit of crit with +3 might, which is okay. It's effective against monsters. So it has 9 might on monsters as opposed to 3 might. And it also heals her 5 HP per turn, which is really important because if you heal yourself without doing anything, that means you don't have to use turns to heal yourself. And that's really important in this speed run. So Celica needs to hit 14 attack, I think, with the Blessed Sword to kill, all of these pirates. So you see these 4 pirates, they're all going to disappear. If you don't hit 14 attack with Celica, then you just lost about a minute. And there's nothing you can do about it. So yeah, they're all dead. Now Celica just clears the path forward. And again, we want to focus on getting experience on Saber, so we're going to have to move forward and try to get as much experience on him as possible. So again, we can't really counterattack archers because they have up to 4 range if they have a weapon. And there's like, unless you're an archer yourself, hint, hint, you can't counterattack them. So we have to use up player faces to finish them off.
Ready to move out.
But yeah.
That was a close call.
Lots of boats in this route. So now we're facing Arcanist Boat. And this is a really scary map casually because, as I mentioned before, nobody has a resistance stat. Almost nobody has a resistance stat. Celica's chance of gaining resistance per level is 4%. Obviously, that's not something to rely on. And these are all magic users, so have fun with them. They are going to hit you hard. Now, fortunately, Saber has a 6 resistance, which is pretty respectable at this point in the game. And Celica has 7 normally, but we gave her 2 resistance buffs from the previous dungeon. This boss we're about to kill, we need 15 attack to kill. If we do not have 15 attack, we have to sacrifice Bowie or Jenny to weaken the boss and just hope that Celica doesn't die. And if she dies, that's run over. So we need 15 attack to kill him immediately. And now what we're doing right here with Saber is this is a pretty interesting little strat that is worth taking some time to explain, I think. Is that let's see. These 2 Arcanists here are going to be attacking Saber from certain tiles. So one of them is going to attack Saber from, let's see, I think it's, yeah, from this tile. And the other one will want to attack Saber. But there's literally no tile for that other Arcanist to attack him from, except from this tile. Which is convenient, because that means Saber can counterattack at 1 range. So, unless Saber crits, you're about to see one of those 2 Arcanists weakened right next to him. Like that. So that one next to him is weakened, so now he can just finish off the Arcanist. Meanwhile, Celica wants to kill off as many Arcanists up north as possible. It's really easy for her to just blow up because, again, these Arcanists can hit hard, and resistance is non-existent. We have to be a little bit careful here. but I think we're in a pretty good situation. So again, we want to get Saber to level 10. So we're trying to get Saber 3 kills on this map, ideally. So right now, we're going to try to get Saber to weaken this one more Arcanist back here. The last Arcanist at the top, let's see, this one up here has a spell called Mire, which is 3 range. So like, there's no way for us to counter that. So I'm trying to bait that Arcanist closer to us so we can finish him off with Saber, because we preferably want Saber to get around level 5 with that 60-70 experience. Say goodbye to Bowie. He was bait.
All right.
And there we go. Saber kill. He's at level 5, 63 experience. He's a little bit higher in experience, which is good. Also, I forgot my splits have a bit of profanity in them. Please ignore that. Wait, I have an idea. We can do this. Let's see. Woo, there we go. No one saw that. Okay.
I'm ready for anything.
So this map is really annoying because this green unit right here he's Conrad. He is Celica's brother. He sucks. Why? Because we want Saber to get 2 kills and the boss kill. He steals kills. If he steals even 1 kill from Saber, that is over 1 minute. That is almost 1 minute of time lost. And there's only so much you can do about it. So yeah, we want to try to weaken the Arcanists just enough for Saber to finish them, but like also make sure that Conrad, the green unit, can't like steal the kill from us. So right here, what I'm trying to do is have Celica weaken this Arcanist, not kill the Arcanist, weaken.
Ready for anything.
I said weaken, not kill.
Nice going, lass.
Okay. He refuses to weaken, so I think I decided to just have Saber go after Arcanist, and he gets a crit, so I'm just like, oh, well, we take those. Actually, I want to see what the crit rate was. Let's double check really
Ready for
quickly.
anything.
Nice going, lass.
Yeah, you want Saber to get the kill. Oh, that's like 10 crit, I think. It looks like roughly 10 crit. I am menuing way too fast, so I can't actually see that. We take those. We take those. Like, if the game throws bad luck at you, you lose time. But if the game throws good luck at you, you take those. You don't complain, you just take those. Okay, this is the boss. The boss gives a massive amount of experience. So like, we want to make sure we don't crit the boss, because just hitting the boss gives you like 20 experience. If we want to kill the boss in enemy phase, we get a level up. We want to get Saber to roughly level 7, roughly 20, 30 experience by the end of this map. And now, we are at the end of Act 2. I said, if you remember what I said before, what's the level that Saber needs to hit to become a Dread Fighter? 10. We're not at level 10. We are at level 7. What are we going to do? We are going to grind.
Yeehaw!
Yeehaw! Let's go grinding.
My favorite part.
So we're back to our favorite Thief's Shrine. Yes, you can backtrack to almost portion of the map, actually, at this point, because they're on the same map. I made a bit of a brain fart here. I'm like, wait a second, I need to actually fight these, not go straight to the next room. Oops. It happens. So what I'm doing with Saber here is Saber has a shield equipped. Reason is, I don't want him to kill everything. I need him to like get as much chip experience as possible, meaning whatever combat he engages in, he wants to get chip experience instead of kill experience, and then get kill experience afterwards. So like he's only getting like 3 or 4 experience per round of chips, but like that adds up if you're fighting like 9 of them, and like his experience gain at this point is really slow, so we need every bit of experience we can get to get him to level 10. So we're just literally ending turn, grinding him, getting him to the level we need to. He just hit level 8. And there we go. You kind of hear Saber complaining that he's tired. I'm just like, nope, you're good enough to go. So we're just going to keep grinding you, even though you're tired. Fatigue is a thing in this game, actually. So like, if a unit takes too many hits in a dungeon, they get tired. Kind of see the little sad face, actually. Like, let me point it out. Kind of see the sad face right there. And when a unit's fatigued, their maximum HP is halved. Until you leave the dungeon. But we don't care, because like Saber's taking like no damage from everything anyway, so it doesn't really matter. We generally don't spend enough time in most dungeons for fatigue to really matter, so it's usually not something to be concerned about in the speedrun. So again, our goal is to get Saber to level 9. I think I'm doing a little bit well in experience, so whatever kills he doesn't need, I want to give them to Celica, because again, Celica also wants experience, just to be as good as possible. So there's level 9, with a good level up. And we need one more level up on Saber to get him to level 10, but conveniently enough, we picked up this item called the Golden Apple, which is a free level up. How convenient. Of course, we're going to use it when he's at level 9, because when you're at level 9, your experience rate just drops like a rock. It's already really low, and it just becomes even lower. But that's the ideal time to just eat an experience stat booster. And now we promote him to Dreadfighter. So we have Dreadfighter Cliff at the end of Alm's early game. And now we have a Dreadfighter Saber at the end of the first act of Celica's route. So we have a Dreadfighter on both sides by the end of their first portion of the run. So that's exciting. And again, Dreadfighters are an endgame class. Yeah. So that's exciting. Now Celica is reunited with Alm. They're like, oh my gosh, we missed you so much. And they got in a fight, and now they break up. Yada yada. Sad face. And now we enter Act 3, and Act 3 is where you can kind of control both armies separately. So we're going to be doing Alm's side first in Act 3. After Act 3 is probably going to be a good time to take a short break, because we've been talking for a while. But
Sounds good.
Yep, this will probably be like, yeah, you can kind of see in the splits, it's about 21 minutes. Okay, so yeah, now we get to see the power of a Dreadfighter. So, you see that movement range? That's 5 moves. That's how much movement the Myrmidon class had. In other words, that's how much movement Saber and Cliff had in their mid-tier class. So that's 5 moves.
I've got this.
We're gonna do a quick warp to get Cliff into this forest, and now we get to see Cliff's movement range. 7 move. He is very mobile.
Wow.
Yeah, 7 move.
I imagine that's really powerful in a game like Fire Emblem.
Yeah, it's interesting because like mobility is important for sure, and like especially in games where like your goal is to get to like a certain point in the map. But like in this game, it's still important. But like because almost every map your goal is to kill everything, mobility is less important than like the ability to kill everything. So like the other good thing about the Dreadfighter is that like Cliff is just so fast and dodgy, and he's relatively tanky because you're not supposed to have 11 defense at this point, and he has a lot of HP, so he can just take hits like a champ. And he's still using the Lightning Sword. Remember, this is the Lightning Sword that does 15 magic damage per hit, basically. So we'll go ahead into this map and rewarped Cliff so he can camp in his forest to give him a lot of avoid and just finish off 2 archers, because again, archers have 4 range. We can't counterattack them. So we want to prioritize killing them, whereas everything else we can counterattack.
Take care of this.
Let's see what happens with Almond Silk, because Almond Silk are kind of just chilling for now. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. This witch right here, which rhymes with the word that I will not say because it's profanity, but is very fitting. They suck. The Act 3 introduces witches. So witches have a random chance to teleport to one of your units and then just attack you with magic. They really suck because they use magic. They hit really hard, and they also have crit. And they have like a relatively high crit rate. Like they have like 2 or 3 crit on Alm. So if they crit Alm, game over. There's nothing you can do about that. Game over. Yeah, they suck. So there are 2 witches in this map, but what we ideally want to do in this map, what we ideally want to happen is we want to have like 1 witch go after Alm or Silk, and then so that Alm can finish off the witch, and then the second witch goes after them again, but on a different turn. Because like we want them to come separately, because if they both come towards Alm or Silk at the same time, then it's really hard for Alm to handle them. But we also don't want them to go after Cliff, because that kind of ruins this entire setup we have here. Because what we want to do with that setup is we want Cliff to kind of block the bridge, which you're about to see. Yeah, we want Cliff to kind of block the bridge up here and finish off the Armor Knight, because they actually hit him kind of hard. So again, we want the witches to go after Alm or Silk, but not Cliff. And thankfully that happened again. So the second witch just came after Silk, and now we're just going to go ahead and make sure Alm is healed and have Alm finish off the witch. And Alm's kind of works fine against the witches because he's the unit with the Iron Sword, and the witches have very high resistance. So like Cliff and the Lightning Sword are going to do basically no damage to the witches. So that's why we want them to go after Alm, because Alm can actually kill them. Cliff can't with the Lightning Sword. And now both witches are taken care of, so this is pretty much just going to be the Cliff show. Again, defense is one of the most important stats. Cliff looks really low on HP. It looks very scary. It's not as scary as it looks because he's taking 1 damage from almost everything on the map. Although he's at 6 HP, so it's still a little sketchy. And right now, like, this entire group of enemies that are, like, down here, they're all in heal AI mode. That's like a tongue twister. So they're all just going to run away, and that's why you want to block the bridge, because past the bridge, like, up there and up there off screen are heal tiles that they're going to run away to. But right now, they're running away to this Arcanist, because this Arcanist can heal them too, which, you know, is better than them just running to the opposite side of the map. So we just want to make sure they're not too far away when they try to run away. So yeah, and now we're just trying to clean them all up with Cliff. And spoiler alert, we want to get Cliff to level 10 again. We'll see why later on. And here's me trying to figure out, like, how is the heal AI going to work out? Do I want to attack anyone? And right now, so yeah, this is actually a bit of time loss here because I kind of poorly handled this group of enemies here, unfortunately. I'm not really sure what the best action would have been because I don't think Cliff could have killed the Arcanist in 1 round of combat. So the enemies just keep trying to run away. So what I try to do here is I warp Alm closer so he can just finish off the Arcanist immediately. So that now the 2 soldiers that are alive, they don't have a healing target to run away to, so they're just gonna get themselves killed next turn, and now they're dead.
It's more fun when we barely escape.
So, okay. Did you see that? Let me go back really quickly. Let's see if I can... Oh yeah.
It's more fun when we barely escape.
Let's see. There's nothing there, right? Now there's a Cavalier. That just costed me about 2 to 3 minutes.
What?
Yes, so starting in Act 3, every time you move and or finish a battle, there is a random chance of a map spawn,
Oh no.
which is extra battles and or lots of extra enemies you have to kill. And it is a massive pain in the butt because you have no control over it. So you just have to deal with it. And that is the worst possible map spawn. And like, if you have to fight that map spawn on that specific map, that's about a 2-minute time loss. There's just nothing you can do about it. So an ideal run.
Do you know how the RNG is for those spawns?
I don't know the odds, but you can technically manipulate it.
Okay.
Technically. But the problem is, like, you have to know they're going to show up ahead of time to manipulate it. So like, if you hover your cursor over a map tile, you burn the random numbers that's rolled to make them spawn. But like, there's no point in that until you know it's going to happen anyways, which requires finishing a map. So like, if I wanted that specific spawn, if I wanted to rig that specific spawn back there, I think it's actually not a bad time to go back really quickly.
We barely escape.
If I wanted that specific spawn to not spawn, I would have to finish this map, know this is going to happen already, reset, burn some random numbers before that map, and redo that map.
So you can manipulate it, but not really in an
It's not worth
way.
it. You just cannot do it in a speedrun. You can do it in like a casual playthrough or like a low turn count setting, but like in a speedrun setting, you can't afford to do that. It's not worth it. Oh yeah, so this is known as Arcanist Force, and a lot of casual players hate this, understandably, because these Arcanists hit you like a truck. And this is also a big reason why Cliff is really good, because if you need a reminder, Cliff has 8 resistance. All the other male villagers that you can make a mercenary have 2 resistance and 6 resistance, respectively. And you're facing that many Arcanists. That adds up very quickly. That's like 8 Arcanists you're fighting. The good news is that Dread Fighters are really broken. Because Dread Fighters, if you notice the stat right here, get +5 resistance on their class, and they take half damage from magic. So that makes Cliff amazing for this map because with the Lightning Sword, he could just tank all these mages and also counterattack all of them. Because the Lightning Sword is 1 to 2 range, and most of these Arcanists only have 1 to 2 range. So like, he can tank them and also weaken pretty much all of them on almost all of them on enemy phase. The other male villagers can do this. They still take half damage as Dread Fighters, but like, that extra resistance still adds up. Like, Gray, for example, would take 3 extra damage per Arcanist, even as a Dread Fighter. And you see there's like 8 Arcanists. That's 24 extra damage per turn if you faced all of them, compared to Cliff. And like, you don't even have 40 HP. So like, that is like the big reason why Cliff is by far the best mercenary in the game. Because that resistance matters a lot. These settings. So what I'm trying to do is kind of have Cliff exposed. You can kind of see the enemy ranges. Everyone's conveniently just like barely out of range, like kind of across his diagonal here. So I'm trying to get as many of these Arcanists as possible to attack Cliff, so that Cliff can counter them and just weaken them as many as possible. So you're kind of just seeing that right now in action. And then now there's like 3 of them weakened, and now like I kind of have to decide: do I want to just like commit to trying to clean up as many as possible with my scrubs, or do I want to try to back off again? Backing off is really slow because that means I have to manually move every single one of my scrubs out of range again. And then I think I decided to just commit to attacking them. So we have 3 other units that can deal decent physical damage. So we have Alm, who's about to attack this Arcanist here and hopefully hit. He did. We have Clive here, who is the Paladin, and he's surprisingly good in this map because even though his resistance is garbage, he's really mobile and can double attack these anyways. And keep in mind, this is Clive. He's never been trained. This is just Clive with his base stats. You can like just swoop in and finish off an Arcanist pretty reliably. So he's really valuable on this map. And we also have Clara here, who's like a Pegasus Knight. She's a lot weaker than Clive, but she's still mobile, so she can also help swoop in and finish one off. Although she's weaker, so she has to finish off a weakened one. And then I throw the rest of my scrubs in the middle as baits. Yeah. Preferably, I really want Clive or Claire to survive one of the 2 mounts. Preferably Clive, which is kind of what happened here. Usually Clive dies because his resistance is garbage, but surprisingly he didn't. And then this is me kind of just taking some time to think about the situation. And now I'm like, okay, let's try to have Clive finish one off. So like, you can kind of tell when I'm like trying to think about what actions to take, because that's when you see me not menuing instantly. And all these other units here, they don't really matter. They're just there to help chip or be baits. And only 2 Arcanists left. So the boss is really scary because he just hits really hard and has free range.
I can do this.
That was me carefully looking at the battle forecast, because if you noticed, Alm would have been at 1 HP, and Alm is the main character. If he dies, it's game over. And I have not saved a single time in this run, so run is literally dead if I game over. The saving is slow.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen in the world record run.
Yeah, imagine that. Yeah, this is me trying to get the kill to Cliff, because again, we want kills on Cliff, ideally. Like, this is just a really scary, volatile map. We can't really afford to slow down to give Cliff kills. So yeah, that map spawn just moved, by the way. Map spawns can move towards you. And this is good, because we'd rather fight the extra map spawn on this tile here, as opposed to this. Because this map is terrible to fight them on. That's about a 2 to 3 minute time loss. If we fight them on this map here, which is the next map, it's about a 1 minute time loss instead. Which still sucks, but better than 2 minutes. So yeah, this map, if you read the split name and ignore the profanity, this split, normally, if you read the split name Berkut Trio, this normally only has 3 Cavaliers on the map and ends in about 20 seconds. That is not 3 Cavaliers. Yeah, this group of enemies right here, that is what the map normally is. Just those 3. Everything else you see is from the map spawn. Everything else. So, like, every enemy you see that's not those 3 Cavaliers is time waste. Time wasted from the map spawn we got unlucky with. So, like, there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to fight them and try to kill all of them. The silver lining is that Cliff gets a lot of extra experience, which is nice, but obviously it's not worth a minute time loss, but, like, you take what you can get. So we're just kind of trying to finish off these Cavaliers. And kill the boss in particular, because the boss is actually kind of scary and pretty fast. And yeah, there's not much to say. I'm just like trying to clean this up, because yeah. in the chat, if you do have questions about this run, feel free to ask. I am paying attention to chat, although it is hard to keep up at the times, but that's okay.
I just want
So,
you
again,
to know that I really like that your split says Northern Love and Love Fortress.
Yeah, we'll just pretend they'll say love.
They do on
They do
our
say love.
They do.
Yep.
It's more fun when we barely.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. I approve. I approve.
Yeah.
I just
I told you.
yeah. All right. I appreciate that. Okay. This map. This map is by far the worst map in the speedrun. Why? You're about to see why. That doesn't look too bad, does it? You see that single choke point? Have fun. Have fun. Yep, so what we're gonna do is try to warp Cliff and get him onto the supply tile as soon as possible. Now, the map spawn that I mentioned before, if we fought the map spawn here, then you would see like 6 or 7 Cavaliers like along this row right here, along with like 2 more Archers and an Arcanist. And we have this choke point like right here to fight them along. So like, if you had the map spawn, you could kind of see why that just loses you 2 to 3 minutes, because there's just nothing you can do about that. You just have to block this, pray you kill them eventually, and just pray. But this boss right here is terrible. So he is really tanky, and he hits like a truck. Like he's doing a lot of damage to Cliff, actually. So what I'm doing here is using a combat art. So combat art's introduced in this game. When you use a weapon or a piece of equipment enough, you learn combat arts with it. Which is kind of usually an attack ability you can use that gives you like enhanced hit rates or a secondary effect or so on. Or maybe you can like swap positions with the unit. We're using Floydroyant or we'll call it Loveroyant, okay? That gives you a lot of extra hit and does like 1 beefy magic hit, which is really nice because like this boss is just gonna run away to a supply tile and we're not gonna be able to hit him at 1 range safely anymore. So we're gonna try to just strip away half his health immediately with 100 hit. So it's really convenient because we pretty much have a guaranteed way to reduce his HP down to half. But that, unfortunately, that combat art's only 1 range, and we want to keep Cliff on the supply tile for extra avoid and plus 5 HP per heal. So now all we can really do is just do this. You see that? Just wail at the boss and hope you hit. 56 hit. It's not great. You're flipping 2 coins and praying that both of them land.
About me.
And we landed 1 of them, which is better than neither. And there's just nothing you can do about it. You just have to keep wailing on him and hope you hit, hope you don't die. And there's also a witch back here. And again, witches randomly teleport to you and use magic on you, and they're really scary.
All right.
So I actually risked Cliff dying there, but they both missed each other, so it didn't matter. Yeah, that witch is moving very slowly towards us. What I'm trying to do is kind of bait her with my other scrubs. And then have Alm and Clive just finish her off. Ideally. So the boss died relatively quickly. Like for anyone who has watched me speedrun this on stream, like they have seen me like attack this boss for like a minute straight and just keep missing. Like you can just lose a minute or 2 extra from just missing this boss because you're just trying to land a lot of coin flips in a row basically, and there's just no way around it. So, right? We threw Clive at the witch. Unfortunately, he missed. I decided to just kind of back off a little bit until the witch is in a closer position.
Got this. Stand back.
And Cliff just kind of takes care of everything at the top. So we're having my scrub Tobin just weaken the witch. So like even if we just attack the witch and miss, if the witch counters us, she's casting magic. And again, magic costs HP. So like we're still reducing her HP if she attacks us, which is good because he's really scary. Also, that green unit that just died is Clive's fiance. So, rest in peace.
Allow me.
Anyways, okay, we landed 1 hit on the witch with Clive. Cool. I'm trying to weaken the witch with Silk a bit.
Just say the word.
Since Silk can probably finish off the witch by herself, I'm just having all move up towards Cliff so that they can help each other out. Ooh. Game plays. video's slowing down a bit. Give me a sec. Maybe he needs to calm down. Okay. And we just kind of have to... Now almost everything is dead. We just kind of have to finish off this witch here that still keeps missing. And then kill the Cantor that's like all the way up here. Because everything else that's on the map is a zombie that's summoned by the Cantor. And if you kill the Cantor, then all the zombies disappear. So... Alm is growing really well. Like 15 defense is very high. And again, defense is the most important stat in the speedrun. So, like that is... I mean, this is the record, so... Naturally, my stats will be at least pretty decent overall, because you need good stats to finish a run. And the witch teleported towards Alm for whatever reason, and I'm like, you know, I'm not going to complain about that, because it's experience for Alm. And now you just kind of see me trying to wail on this Cantor and hopefully hit, because again, the Cantor is on a indoor tile, which is plus 20 avoid. So we have like 60 to 70 hit on him, we're just trying to hit him. And there's nothing you can do about it. No improvising, nothing like that. You just have to keep trying over and over until you kill him eventually. You might be noticing a trend. At least with this map.
Don't worry about me.
And cliff level. Level 9. So yeah, that is the worst map in the speedrun. If you notice the split name, it said there were 2 minutes of time save. We saved 1 minute, so we could have saved another minute on that. So now we're entering Cavalier Forest.
I've got this. Just say
So usually if we didn't find any map spawns, which is uncommon but can happen, Cliff's usually at like level 8, 40 experience around. This is the last map in the run. This is our last opportunity to get Cliff to level 10. I'll explain why that benchmark's important later, but we were kind of trying to get Cliff to wipe out these enemies quickly while still getting as much experience as possible But we don't want to give every kill to Cliff. We want to give some kills to Alm because experience on him is also important just to improve his stats overall because his stats are going to be important in late game. So this map's pretty straightforward. We just kill everything with Cliff and maybe some stuff with Alm. There is a Fire Emblem Speedrunning Discord. I don't have the link handy on me right now, but I know the Three Houses page on speedrun.com has a link to that. I don't remember off the top of my head if the other Fire Emblem games do, but Three Houses definitely does. So yeah, now we're entering Sylvan Shrine, which is an optional dungeon, by the way. We do not have to be here. Once again, dashing attacking is faster than just running, and also allows you to make sharper turns. So that's what we're doing. And the reason why Cliff has to hit level 10, you'll soon see. It's like I'm breathing in centuries of history.
And yet,
Right. Remember this class, Villager? I believe to my understanding, in the original Gaiden, if a unit hits level 10 as a Dread Fighter, it's a bug for them to like go back to the Villager class, to my understanding. But like interestingly, they kept like some of the bugs around in this game kind of as an Easter egg. Or at least that's what the theory is. But that being said, Cliff is a level 10 Dread Fighter. He can become a Villager, which is the class he was at the very start of the game. So we're making him the same class that he was at the start of the game, but after like 30 level ups of stats. So yeah, say hello to Villager Cliff. And this is the weird thing that we mentioned at the start of the run, where like it's kind of become the meta thing to dread loop Cliff back to Villager. Because like, and you can do this like casually too. Like this works casually. You don't have to grind him excessively. You can do this casually and it works really well. Like this is the reason why I routed this into hard mode, because it works so well casually. And like, I highly recommend trying this casually. It is not hard to do it. Like, if you focus more experience into Cliff, even with a full party, you can do this at a reasonable amount of time and just dread loop him around. So what we're doing is we just gave him 3 level ups with the experience shrines, so he hits level 3 as a Villager again. And again, level 3 as a Villager allows you to branch off into classes again. So you can choose to make him a mercenary, into a Myrmidon, into a Dread Fighter again if you want to, and get even more levels on top of that. What we're doing instead is we're making him an archer. Now, you remember me complaining a lot about how we can't counterattack any archers because we don't have one ourselves. Now we have one ourselves with really beefed up stats. And remember that iron bow we got all the way back in Act 1? We're going to give that to Cliff. And now he has 1-4 range
See the sign.
with really beefed up stats. So now we're going to grind. So what I'm doing in this corner here is I'm paying attention to... Let's see. I'm paying attention to the mini-map because you kind of see that little enemy right there. Circle. That right there. I'm looking for that right there. If there's an enemy in that corner, then I kind of want to camp, like, let's see. Okay, you can kind of see where Alm is. I kind of want to camp in that corner and then lure 2 gargoyles over. So the 2 gargoyles are right next to me, and they're going to pull in this encounter right here as well. So we're going to be fighting 3 encounters in 1 with that. Sometimes there's no enemy in there. Instead, the enemy will be like here in this cell instead. And I have an alternative strat to pull that one in. Either way, we have a guaranteed way to pull in 3 encounters into 1. So now we have 3 skeletons and 6 gargoyles, and now we're just going to kill every single one of them with Cliff. And because Cliff is technically really under level, he's going to be getting like a full level up per kill, basically. And our goal is to get into level 7 as an archer so he can reclass to sniper. And the archer line, so like the mercenary line went from mercenary, Mirabelle, and Dreadfighter from early, mid, late game. The archer line goes from archer, sniper, bow knight, and we're trying to get Cliff to the sniper line. So we're trying to get him to level 7 so he can reclass to the sniper line. And one thing to note with this Cliff is that we want him to hit 20 strength, preferably 21, but 20 is the important benchmark. And his average strength before he becomes an archer is 17. Right now he's at 21, so, and of course this is the world record, so like we got lucky. You kind of need to get lucky to get a good time. We need 20 strength on Cliff, otherwise we're going to lose about 30 seconds in the next map. And that 20 strength is like just about the average after this grinding session.
Got this.
So we're doing a second battle to get him to grind him a bit more, but like this grind is going really quickly because like we only need 2 battles and Cliff is gaining experience at a ridiculously fast rate. So he's already at level 7. He'll typically hit level 8, which is good. We want as many levels on him as possible. Attack is very important. He has a 38% attack growth, so only a 30% chance to gain attack, unfortunately. But that can't be helped. And we're making a quick detour here to give Cliff +2 resistance, so that makes him even a better magic tank. So the downside to making him the archer line is that Dreadfighters take half damage from magic, but he lost that ability now. So he's taking full damage from magic again, but like that's fine though. He has 10 resistance, and that's pretty darn good. It doesn't make him like invincible, but it makes him tanky enough for magic users. So now we class him to sniper, and he has a lot of stats. A lot of stats. I haven't explained what every stat does, but
Everyone get back!
almost all of them are pretty important, especially attack and defense. And we just spent 3.5 minutes grinding him. So that was like a 3.5 minute detour. And so in this next map, Sniper Cliff saves about 30 seconds to Dreadfighter Cliff. In this next map alone. Why? Cliff is a sniper. He has +2 bow range. The iron bow has 3 range, so now he has 5 range. Enemy snipers and bow knights have 5 range. That means he can counterattack everything in the game now
I've got this.
with his broken stats. So now, like, almost every enemy on this map is an archer. So, like, now he can just counterattack and slaughter everything on this map. And 20 attack is the important benchmark for this map because 20 attack allows him to 2-shot all the low-tier archers. So, like, that archer right there. Wrong's difficult. This archer here, that archer there, these archers up here. All those okay, but one of them's a sniper, but all those archers he can just kill with 20 attack. But if he can't actually kill them with 20 attack, like if he had lower than 20 attack, they would all be left at like 1 HP or 2 HP, and they would all run away, and you have to like spend a turn per archer just finishing them off, and that just loses you so much time. There's no way he's killing the snipers without lucky crits, so that's why you want to spend his turns just trying to finish off weakened snipers or bow knights. They're just stronger.
I can do this.
Oh yeah, there's a witch on this map too. That's kind of an alm drum. So there we go. Half the map's just dead. And everything here is almost going to die again because Cliff is really broken. More attack. That archer's running away because it's in heal mode. Finish him off, and now only 1 enemy left in the run.
I feel a little better.
Not run, map. which is dead. And that's the map over. So that saves about 30 seconds compared to Dread Fighter Cliff. This next map. Having a sniper cliff for this next map saves about over 3 minutes compared to Dread Fighter Cliff. I didn't say that incorrectly. It's over 3 minutes compared to best case scenario Dread Fighter. So realistically, you're saving probably 4 or 5 minutes. So we already paid for it. The grind to get Cliff to Sniper already paid for itself by this map. And you can kind of see why. All of these Arcanists have range. They are all magic users. A lot of them have 3 range too. But now that we have a Sniper with broken stats, with 10 resistance, he's just going to slaughter everything here. He doesn't necessarily one-round KO everything. He doesn't have to attack power for that yet. But like, the goal of the speedrun Fire Emblem is to be as lazy as possible. Like, you want to route the game to be as lazy as possible. So right now I'm trying to just put Cliff in a position so he just does as much as possible in enemy phase and kills everything. Oh, 2 turns fast. Almost everything's dead. Cool. Convenience. Welcome to the power of a Dread looped Sniper. So we have to be a little bit careful in this map because there's a girl named Delthea who's also kind of a witch. She can teleport, and she has a really powerful spell called Aura, and she can... Oh, there she is, right there. That girl right there. Her. She can game over you instantly, because if she crits he's dead. And she has like a roughly 10 to 15% chance to crit.
Don't worry about
And nothing you can do about it. So that kind of sucks. You can recruit her if you kill the boss before... But like, we don't care about keeping her alive, so we're just gonna kill her off so she doesn't cause any problems. And we're trying to make sure Cliff is topped off, because even with his respectable 10 resistance, these enemies, Arcanists, hit like a truck. But like, we're a sniper. We can attack up to 5 range away, so even though they both have 3 range, we can just counter them. And just almost kill them. So... Yep, and the map's about to end. Like, if we didn't have an archer, we would have to warp Cliff and Alm into the center room, like that's into the center room right here. And then we just have to fight those bosses on like 40 avoid supply tiles. And you can kind of see where that's going. It's terrible. You really don't want to do that.
It shouldn't have had to be
So
like
another reason why Sniper Cliff saves over 3 minutes on this map alone compared to Dread Fighter. Okay, so we are done with Act 3 Alm, but before we wrap up Act 3 Alm and get ready to take a short break, I'm gonna make a short errand. So we're gonna visit this fortress here to pick up some money and food. And we're gonna pick up a Pegasus cheese, some money, more money. There's a really big juicy chest there that we're gonna ignore because it has a very overrated weapon that's not gonna be used in the speedrun. And another cog, because why not? And now we're gonna go to the village that we passed by. The reason why we didn't visit this village or the fortress earlier is because map spawns. We want to minimize map movement to reduce the number of chances for map spawns. So right now, I'm gonna be selling pretty much everything, almost everything, because my goal is to get up to 530 silver and 3 gold, I think. I think that's, no, 525 silver, 3 gold. There you go. So so right now I'm at 533, I'm a little bit over. And then gold is really valuable in this game. You can convert a gold into 100 silver, but like we just want the silver really badly right now. So what we're doing, I'm gonna be doing some really fast menuing, so so don't blink. Forging allows you to improve weapons and or transform them. Now we're done with the trip. And let's see. Let me go back really quickly before we get ready to take a break.
Is the menuing
dang
in
it.
this touch screen? Am I looking at that right, or is that you're able to
It's
scroll
button.
that fast?
You can scroll that fast. Yep.
Okay.
Trying to find a good frame to pause this, but I'm too fast at menuing. There we go. Okay. I've heard
I know it's
complaints about
incredible the speed that menuing is.
All right.
Super impressive.
So you remember that iron sword we got a long time ago? That's 2 mites. The iron bow that Cliff has been using is also 2 mites, I think. We just created a brave sword at level 3. If you can see the stats for yourself, it's 9 mites, which is really powerful at this point in the game, with pretty good accuracy, 90 hit, and yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty good weapon. That's a really good weapon. And what we're doing with this weapon now, we're sending it to Silica. And now Saber gets to enjoy that weapon. So if you want to see Saber kill everything, wait until after this break, because my voice is a little bit tired, and I think this is a good quick stopping point. Well, not stopping point, break point.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and take a quick little break. We do like to do wellness breaks here on GDQ Hotfix. So this is a perfect time, chat, if you need to use the restroom, if you need to refill your drink, go grab a snack, maybe get an extra blanket to get snuggly. Take that opportunity to do that now, and we'll be right back with more Fire Emblem with Kirby Master. Stay tuned. Hey, all you cool cats and gamers. Welcome back to Victory Lap, the GDQ Hotfix show that highlights recent world record and personal best runs and the runners who made them happen. I'm your host, Nuclear, and tonight I've got with me Kirby Master, showcasing his recent world record run of hard mode, Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. Before we get back to the run, though, I do have a couple announcements here. If you're watching on YouTube, go to twitch.tv/GamesOnQuick if you're interested in looking at our live content, starting weeknights at 7 p.m. Eastern and weekends at 1 p.m. Eastern. Also, your subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits cheered on the GDQ Twitch channel help support weekly Hotfix content. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy these weekly Hotfix shows. Also, make sure to check out at Games on Quick on Instagram to get bite-sized clips from our Hotfix shows and see what happens at the event. All right, Kirby, I just want to give you a moment. Could you explain kind of like what's going on, where we are at the run for anyone who may be just joining us here?
Yeah, so we are showing off the current world record for hard mode Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia, which is a 3DS Fire Emblem game and a remake of Fire Emblem Gaiden. And we just finished up Alm's side of Act 3, and we're about to start up Silica's side of Act 3, and they are the two protagonists of the game. So, how much do you like math, Nukes? How much have you been annoyed at missing that crucial 70% Pokemon Thunder in your Ironmons?
Yes. Very annoyed by those. Yes.
Or like maybe like a 90% tackle or something. Well, Fire Emblem has, most westernized Fire Emblem games have a hit rate system where the game lies to you. So when if something has a 70%,
awful.
it's honestly kind of genius, because like we're humans, we all suck at probability. So like if you see a 90 hit rate, you think it's gonna hit almost always.
Yes.
But like we suck at probability. Except for me, I'm joking. But if something has 90% hit, you'd expect the game to roll one random number and say, oh, is this random number above 90? If so, it's a miss. Is it below 90? Then it's a hit. In most Fire Emblem games, they take the average of two numbers and compares it. So in order to miss a 90, you have to roll two numbers whose average is higher than 90. And so that means that the actual hit rate of a 90% chance is actually 98.1.
Oh.
Or like the actual hit rate of a 10% chance is around 2%. And that the idea behind that is like everything that's above 50 is actually more likely to hit, and vice versa, which lines it up a lot more closely with human perception, which is honestly pretty genius, even if the game's lying to you.
Yeah,
so like,
okay. I thought it was lying in a bad way.
It's lying in the states to like try to line it up more closely with human perception.
So, that's
So
interesting.
yeah, that's what most Fire Emblem games do. Not this one, and not Fire Emblem Fates. So, in these two games, if a hit rate is below 50%, it's correct. Okay? Like, so if you see a 33% chance to hit, it's actually 33%. If it is higher than 50%, so let's say X is the displayed hit rate. If the actual hit rate is X plus X times -2/15 times sine of X pi over 20, I think? I lied. It's X plus X times -2/15 of sine X pi over 50. I just posted in chat. That is the hit rate of hit rates above 50% in this game. What does that mean in practice? Well, you can kind of see a visual representation of this in Corbin May's graph here. So this yellow line you see, is what you would expect, the actual hit rate. So like you can kind of see a 20% is actually 20%, a 75% is actually 75%. If you see like the blue line in this graph, that's the 2RN system, which is basically like the average system that we just explained that's more closely aligned with human perception. And this is the case for like all the GBA Fire Emblems, Awakening, Three Houses, Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn. The red line is what this game does. So like you kind of see that really ridiculously convoluted sign function that I just posted in chat. In practice, what it just means is that it's kind of a less extreme version of the blue line. So it's a little bit less extreme, but still hit rates are a little bit higher than what the game tells you. So like a 60% hit rate's actually around 65 in this game, as opposed to like 68 in the other Fire Emblems. But you can kind of see like a visual representation of this, and I hope that helps. So like the blue line in this graph that Corvin is conveniently holding up is what most Fire Emblems do. And the yellow line is like if the game never lied to you, like Pokemon, usually. And the red line is what this game does. So that's why if you paid attention to what I said about like a 60% hit rate, I probably said something like it's probably 60-ish%, but it's not actually 60% because it's actually 65, or like a 90% hit rate's actually 95% in this game, whereas in other Fire Emblems it's 98%. But thank you very much, Corvin, for this explanation. I appreciated that. Now let's go back to the actual run after that fun, short little math lesson.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that was super
You're welcome.
informative.
Yep.
That's
So-
interesting.
Yeah, it's honestly pretty genius
Yeah.
in a sense
Yeah,
if you think about
really.
it. So, yeah, so a lot of people were a little bit confused about like the Three Houses hit rates at the time, but like it was the actual formula was data mined, and like Fates and Echoes, this game kind of used that weird sign formula, but Three Houses came after this, and Three Houses kind of went back to the 2RN system that previous Fire Emblems did, which is interesting. Like for the longest time, people kind of thought that this game was 1RN, which basically means the game doesn't lie to you. Which is fair, because like most hit rates are like between 50 to 80%, and like humans aren't gonna notice the difference between 60 and 65%. And the game is actually also doesn't lie to you if the hit rate's below 50. So like, for the longest time, myself included, we all thought this game was like 1RN or didn't lie to you about hit rates, but it does lie to you. It's just a lot less extreme than what we're used to. Oh yeah, by the way, Saber just killed everything because he's using a really broken weapon. So, welcome to the power of the level 3 Brave Sword, which is, again, 9 might, 90 hit, and a whooping 40 crit. So, along with Saber's current stats, he has roughly 60%. He has roughly a 60 to 70% chance to crit something per hit, and he doubles everything. Like, roughly speaking, he has like an 80 to 90% chance to kill something, if he can't kill them already without a crit. So this map is kind of just a mandatory map spawn map, but unfortunately we're fighting an extra Bow Knight because we got a unlucky map spawn while doing Alm side. And the reason we do Celica side after Alm side, which you kind of do either way, is because map spawns on Alm side are a lot more punishing than Celica side. That's the main reason in the speedrun. So we really want to just make sure that we get rid of Alm's maps as quickly as possible, because map spawns on Celica side in Act 3 aren't as big of a deal. They still suck, but they're not as bad as Alm side. Well, there's another map spawn, but it's not too big of a deal. So you kind of have a bit of non-linearity. We can either go north to the Temple of Mila, or we can go east to the Greece Fortress. And you want to go east first, because you have to hit a plot trigger there and then go north. So Saber himself is a Dread Fighter. Again, because reminder, we got him to an endgame class Dread Fighter at the end of Act 2. And so he's actually surprisingly mobile in the desert. When most units only have 1 or 2 move, he has 3. And he's going to be taking out these Arcanists because he tanks magic really well. And this map's a little annoying because you see all those archers up there? Yeah, we kind of don't have an archer, unfortunately. So we're just going to have to make do with blocking this choke point and hope as many archers as possible attack Saber at 1 range. Just die on him. This map is really scary because it's kind of like your defense check. So like if Saber has like only 11 or 12 defense, he'll be taking like 2 extra damage for every enemy and he'll be dead by now. So like you have to have good defense for this map. Similarly with Celica, if her defense is not good, which it's average, which at this point was just okay. We can't afford to have her move up to help out, so we're just having her be bait for the boss so that Saber doesn't get destroyed by the boss, because the boss has quite a bit of attack. And unfortunately, we don't really have an archer ourselves. So we just have to pick off these archers one by one with Celica and Saber. Usually, the efficient thing will be to have another archer that we can recruit, Leon, but like he's really unreliable for a speedrun setting, and he also just kind of died, so can't really use him if he's dead. And I also actually undid that move. So like you might be wondering why did I undo that move earlier? Silica got a really bad level up. That's why. And something you can do in this game is that like when you undo a level up, you're still gonna get the same level up in that same map. But if the map's about to end and you get a really bad level up, you can undo that level up and try to re-roll it on a later map. And like this speedrun pretty much hinges on Silica's stats. Like if her stats are bad, the run will die. So I'm trying to like mitigate the chances of her getting bad level ups and trying to roll as many good levels, as many opportunities as possible for a good level up. This map is scary because there's a nerd named Dean. He's this guy right up here. He's actually a recruitable character. So you can either go north and kill Dean or go south and kill Sonya. And whichever of the two you do not kill, you recruit. We're killing Dean because we want Sonya on our party as a mage for one map later on. And killing Dean is easier than killing Sonya. Well, it's more like finishing his map is easier than finishing Sonya's map. Dean himself is really scary because he has, we have a Brave Sword at 40 crit. He kind of has a Brave Sword himself. So yeah, let me show you really quickly again. He's really scary, and in hard mode, he has 21 speed as well, so he's really scary. Let me see if I can pause on the combat forecast. There we go. That's Dean. And if you look at his stats in the bottom left corner, his stats are like as good as our Saber's. He is really powerful. Our Saber has 22 speed. That is barely enough to double attack him. Like, barely enough. If Saber got unlucky with speed, Dean will double attack us and will probably kill us. And the only strat that we have is to just bank on a 50% crit. That's like the only thing we can do, really. If we can't double, we only have one chance. If we do double, we have 2 chances to get a 50% crit. And there's no way around it. You just have to hope for a crit. And we got the crit, so that worked out. And now Saber just cleans up the rest of the map. And Silica gets a level up. It's bad, so I undo it.
I'm ready for anything.
And I try to have Saber finish the rest of the map off so that Silica doesn't get any experience, so I can re-roll that level up a 3rd time in another map. And that's the end of the Dean map. So now we're approaching probably the scariest map in Silica side. Grease Citadel, or however you pronounce it. So Grease himself is actually not that threatening. He's a lot less scary than Dean, honestly. But the bigger threat is just that it's a pretty big map with a lot of scary enemies in general, and like that's a lot of enemies we're facing. A few Arcanists, 3 Witches, a few Mercenaries and Myrmidons that are pretty fast themselves, that they actually double attack Silica typically. So Saber's role is to kind of just blitz forward into the fortress and just pray that he survives. Again, defense is the most important stat in the speedrun. If Saber doesn't have defense, he has to waste like about a minute coming back to get healed by Silica, because she can heal him now. Meanwhile, Silica, having only 4 movement as opposed to 7, he's kind of hanging back here to take care of a few enemies in her starting position. They're pretty scary in general. So I'm giving her a shield because these 2 mercenaries that are near her double attack her. Well, Saber kind of just dips into this little alcove and finishes off these ranged enemies so that they don't threaten Silica anymore. So Silica got attack and speed. That's much better than like 1 point of luck. So that time that I wasted re-rolling those levels was worth it. Pretty scary. So like, the thing about defense is that like, if your defense sucks, you need to equip a shield. If you equip a shield, you're not healing for every turn. And you don't have any offense, and you have to manually heal. But if you do have good defense, you can equip the Blessed Sword, which heals you 5 per turn. It gives you an offensive weapon, and you don't have to burn your turns healing. So like, in the speedrun, a good defense is a good offense. If you have a bad defense, you can't use offense. And that's why defense is just so important in the speedrun. That being said, you still need good offensive stats, but yeah, and Silica's defense is like just about average, I think. What is it, 8? getting 12 level sets.
Gonna hurt.
Yeah, it's about average, yeah. And like, average is fine, but it's not enough for the speedrun is the problem. You just cannot get by him on average. So Saber died, so I'm undoing all those moves and trying to get him in a better position so he's not surrounded, because he's kind of just low on HP. I think in this record, I'm just being a little bit too aggressive with him.
I'm ready for anything.
And I think I tried to bank on a crit here. Oh, he dodged. That works. And that's why the Brave Sword is really nice, because like if you initiate an attack and you get a crit, which he has a pretty high chance of, you don't face a counter. So like, the really high crit rate of his weapon is just very handy defensively as well in a sense, because it helps you avoid counterattacks. Now that like most of the map is cleaned up, we are kind of getting Saber and Silica reunited. Silica can finally heal Saber, so he doesn't die. And we kind of want to get kills to Silica because like Silica's stats are a lot more important than Saber's at this point. Like she's going to be a more important carry in Act 4 onward. Saber's still important, but it's important to make sure that we try to get kills on Silica and level her up as much as possible. So now you finish that map, and we're just collecting some materials and stuff. And for people who are scared of the series because of permadeath, that's perfectly understandable. A lot of the more recent games do have casual mode, which means like if a unit dies, they don't stay dead forever. And like those modes are there for a reason. Do not feel ashamed to play them. If anyone shames you for them, then that's on them. I will say that like playing on like classic mode is a lot better in terms of improving as a player, but there is also no shame in relying on like an easier difficulty casual mode. Like that's kind of my spiel on that. So feel free to play whatever mode you want, is basically what I'm saying. Oh yeah, we just recruited S, who's a flyer. And unfortunately, that map spawn there is random. Usually we'll have to fight this. Occasionally it never spawns, so we can save like 30 seconds, but since it did spawn, that's like a 30-second time loss. But what can you do? It happens. But yeah, Saber actually just hit level 10, but we're actually not gonna dread loop him like we did with Cliff, because Silica's side doesn't really have as much need for an archer anymore. Like there was that one map with a bazillion archers, but like that's pretty much the only big map where the archer is a lot at its best. There are cases where archers are still really good in this route, don't get me wrong, but like it's not as important as an alms. Like you're not going to be fighting like 30 bow knights in this route as opposed to alms route.
All right, I'll handle this.
Yeah. The thing about Saber and Silica is that they kind of complement each other too at this point, because like these magic users, they do like no damage to Saber, so they're going to go after Silica because they do more damage to her, which works in our favor because Silica can counterattack them with magic. Saber cannot counterattack them. So that just works out very nicely. So like at this point, like Saber and Silica both complement each other, and they just work together really well.
A fine meal.
But there's a defense level, and everything's dead. Cool. So yeah, we actually fought an extra map spawn on this map, but like, as I mentioned before, map spawns aren't as big of a deal on Silica's side. Like, I probably spent one extra turn on that map killing a bow knight, and that's it. So like, it's not a big deal. And now we're fighting the last map in Act 3 of Silica's side, and this went by pretty quickly. And this is the other's really big scary map, because Silica has to hit some pretty important offensive benchmarks. Because so like I actually use a stat booster on her to give her +2 speed, because there is a summoner on this map that will summon gargoyles, and they have 15 speed, I think. I don't remember if Silica needs 15 speed or if they have 15 speed, but yeah, those gargoyles up there, Silica needs to be able to double attack them. Otherwise, she's just going to get surrounded, not kill them, and just lose a lot of time. So like making sure that Silica has decent offensive stats to not get surrounded is really important in this map. And so like our goal is to kind of inch Silica and Saber forward. There's like a sniper that's like the sniper right here. Oh my god. Yeah. The sniper here and this Arcanist here. They're both really annoying. But so we kind of want to lure them out so we can just finish them off. before we take on the summoner, who's kind of in that room up there. Yeah, I forgot to mention, we recruited S to open up a door so we can get in the building, so... Sorry, S fans. So, okay, this is really important in this map. So our priority is to kill this nerd here. He can either be on this supply tile or he can be on this supply tile. The right one is much better because if he's on the left one, we can't get within 2 range of him without aggroing all of these units right here. And the attack range for them is, let's see if I can draw this. The attack range for them is basically that. So we want to avoid entering that red line. More accurately, it's probably more like this. Like that. So we want to kill the summoner without entering this range. So you can kind of see the problem. If the summoner enters with the yellow marker, this tile here, how can we attack him without entering this range? All we can do is attack with 3 range with Celica's Thunder Spell, which is 70 accuracy. And if you played Pokemon, you know how bad that is. Technically, it's probably around 75 because of the hit rate stuff I explained, but that's still not very good. And it's effectively random which one he goes to. There's been some theories on like how to manipulate his AI, but I've never found anything reliable. Fortunately, he stayed on the right side, so we can just kind of go up to him and smack him without aggroing all of those Arcanists on the left side. But yeah, you can kind of see the range, just we're barely outside of the range now. And the reason why it's so important to be out of range is that all of these Arcanists right here, all of them have Mire and 3 range. So meaning like they don't do much damage to Saber, but they do enough to weaken him a lot and wear him out. So they're doing like probably 6 or 7 damage per hit. Celica will die in like 2 hits.
I'll take care of it.
So like the best thing we can do is try to have Saber Bunga in there, hope he dodges, and Celica maybe bait 1 at a time, but stay out of range of all of them because he's just gonna die to all of them if more than 2 attack her. And Saber can't counterattack them either, though, unfortunately. So we kind of have to just pray that he survives Bunga forward. And once there's only 1 or 2 left, have Celica move forward to heal and or help out. And I think here I'm trying to get Celica up to the next level 19 for whatever reason. I don't really need to. And then she gets level 97 experience.
Continue.
So, rip. That's unfortunate. Oh well. Because that's the last map of the act. So we're making a quick detour in this last building at the end of the act. So we're just conveniently in experience shrine here, and we're gonna dump them both on Celica because we want as many levels on her as possible before she promotes. She's about to promote to her next class, her Lord exclusive class, and she has to hit some pretty important benchmarks. She needs 31 attack by late Act 4. I'll explain what that's for later, but her average at that point is usually around 28 or 29 attack. And she has a 60% chance to gain attack per level up. So she's at 24 attack. She needs to gain 7 more attack levels out of roughly 10. This is a pretty blessed Celica. Like normally her average is like probably 20, 21 or something like that. If I had to ballpark it. So she wants to hit 31 attack at that point, which is really high. We're pretty much just running around with both Alm and Celica, hitting some plot triggers. Celica just got a promotion, so now she's in her princess class. So now she's back to level 1, and she's at a higher tier. In her case, she only has like 1 extra tier of classes, the princess class. So now we're in Act 4, and what we're gonna do in Act 4 is we're gonna do Celica side of Act 4 first, then Alm side. So we're not gonna be seeing Alm and Cliff for quite a while. And we're making some errands here for some money management. So we wanted to minimize map movement during Act 3 to minimize the chances of map spawns. But if you're at the start of an act, like in this case, Act 4, there are 0 chances of map spawns to occur until you start the first actual map. So we're free to kind of run around the map and do whatever we want, as long as we don't actually move into the next continent. So we're just kind of picking up some stuff for money and healing resources. And now what we're doing is we're stopping by the forge. We're actually sending over that Brave Sword. So you can kind of see why the forge is a big deal, because the one that Saber's been using is upgraded to 9 might and 40 crit. the not upgraded one has 5 might and 30 crit, so 4 extra might is quite a big deal. We're sending this over to Alm. We're transforming that to a different weapon for Alm in late game. And we did a short quest to get our Pegasus cheese, which is again +2 speed.
Welcome.
Just gives us some options as backup, and now we're selling a bunch of stuff to upgrade the blessed sword that we've been using on Celica the entire time. So you can kind of see the results of the upgrade here in the bottom left corner. Draw it. These upgrades here. So like that doesn't look fantastic because it's +1 might, +5 hit, +5 crit. But remember that this is an effective weapon. So +1 might means +3 mights on terrors or monsters. And this is pretty important because without upgrading the blessed sword, Celica needs 28 attack to 2-shot dragons. With the upgraded blessed sword, she needs 25 attack, which is a much more manageable benchmark. Like she's at 24 right now. She's not hitting 28 by the time she has to fight Necro Dragons. Now we're kind of entering this dungeon here to kind of make a quick errand again. We're gonna visit an attack shrine to give Celica +2 attack. And also grab another really important item called the Mage Ring. And this Mage Ring is also kind of another reason why we don't need an archer on this route as badly, because the Mage Ring gives you +2 range on magic. So now Celica has 4 range with fire. In other words, she can counterattack pretty much every magic user. She still can't counter snipers because they have 5 range, but there aren't that many snipers in Celica's side. Not a big deal.
Let us proceed.
Hey Nukes, how much do you like swamps?
All right, I'll handle
Lots and lots of swamps.
I don't. Shrek lives there, so they've got to be pretty good.
Yeah, I guess we're visiting Shrek's homeland here. Lots and lots and lots of swamps with 2 move and taking 5 damage per turn. Hooray. Yay. Yeah, these maps are kind of notorious casually because a lot of casuals bring like a team of 10 people, and imagine just lugging them very slowly one by one.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
In these swamps, it's not pleasant.
I'll take care of it.
Yeah, this is the first real map of Act 4, and you can kind of see Celica and Saber kind of complementing each other, because like Celica now has 4 range, so she's good for counterattacking Arcanists now, because they want to attack her, because they do more damage to her, but she counters them too, so it works out. But like you have to be really careful in this map, because it's really easy for Saber and Celica to die. Like you could kind of see Saber almost dead already at 2 HP. I'm kind of doing some math at the same time to just mentally calculate the chances of Celica, not chances, but if Celica can take these magic hits or not, if I need to play it a bit more safe, if I need to heal her, and so on. But almost all of the biggest threats on this map are dead. So all of these like monsters that are summoned, they're not too much of a threat because they're just infinitely spawned, and they're actually kind of convenient because Celica is really low leveled right now since she just promoted, so she's going to be getting quite a bit of experience, and this is kind of a good opportunity to take like 30 seconds to grind her up an extra level or so.
All right, I'll handle this.
So we're kind of trudging forward, and you see the 2 summoners at the top. Now, boom, there's like 30 monsters. Cool. Hey, free experience. Every casual's dream. So she's doing very well on attack. She is at 28 attack right now, which is very good. And 14 defense is also really good. That level up's not quite as good, but that's okay. And yeah, here I decided to just finish off the boss because I'm like, okay, Celica's stats are pretty good. I don't need to really waste some time grinding her. Her defense is fine. 14 defense is acceptable. Let's just move forward. This map will go by pretty quickly. Not much to say. And also, as a reminder, if anyone has any questions in chat, feel free to ask. I am keeping an eye on it. And if you see someone named like Steve Ladias or USS Gordon saying something, you should listen to them because they know a lot about this game. And they actually taught me a lot about this game in general. And it's also thanks to them that this run is a thing in the first place. Oh, hey, a battle just happened. All right, GG.
Also a reminder, if you're enjoying this and all of Kirby's knowledge, to make sure to follow him on twitch.tv/KirbyMaster. I have that linked in chat. Please go give him a follow. He speedruns an absurd amount of games, not just Fire Emblem. This is one of the many. So make sure you give him a check out on his Twitch stream. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, I haven't streamed runs of this game in the past week because I've been like trying to reroute my money to save like 2 seconds. It's like, oh, well, I don't need to forge this thing anymore. So let's see what I can cut out to save like 2 seconds. So I haven't. So I've been like doing some practice playthroughs offline, just to, like try to figure out the routing for that. The things I do waste like not waste, but use up like 6 hours of my time just trying to save 2 seconds in a route. Just speedrunning things.
I'll take
This
care.
map's
There's
kind
not
of
enough. There's not enough appreciation for people who do stuff like that in the speedrunning communities. I think it's you know,
I
a lot that
generally
goes
agree.
into routing and
Let
yeah.
us proceed.
But at the same time, like if you're also the kind of person who doesn't like routing, that is also perfectly a-okay. You want to just pick up a game and go. So, 31 attack. That was quick. That was a stupid mistake. Like I want to see that again. Why did I go for that?
This one's
Why did I go for that? Oh my god. That's a 64 hit. That's probably translates to around 69, 70 hit. Nice. If I had to guess. That's 14 damage. That doesn't even kill with a crit. I have to double hit and land a crit. Why did I go for that?
gonna hurt.
Bad judgment on my end. And yeah, Saber just died. But you know, but it happens. World records have mistakes. That was just a very poor judgment call on my end. So I'm like, oh, Saber's almost dead. Let's back him off a bit. And just heal him up with Silica.
I'm counting on all of you.
You can kind of see why you really didn't want to back him up, because that costs like 3 or 4 extra turns. And this boss also summons dragons, so now they're kind of just blocking him. Like, it costs quite a bit of time to just not go for the kill. But at the same time, that was also just not a risk that was not in my favor at all. So I really shouldn't have gone for that. But hey, it happens. 32 attack on Silica. Are you kidding me?
Close call. Is every-
You kind of see the time save just leaking through, because like if your Silica's bad, you're gonna lose like 20, 30 seconds, maybe like a minute for like each map basically. Because like if your Silica has bad defense and or like bad offense too, you just keep snowballing into more and more and more time loss. Which is why like getting those really good early level ups is so crucial to getting a good run. So here's kind of a little bit of a dungeon here. You're kind of supposed to follow these statues. I don't remember the puzzle. I know there's like a puzzle involved, but you can just memorize the map, and that's exactly what I do. I just memorize the map and just go forward,
This wood is thick
turn
and
left to the
dark
second junction,
and plays havoc with one's sense
and
of
that's about it.
direction.
And you hear Silka talk about the tall stone pillars standing as sentinels, keeping watch over our intrusion.
Over our intrusion.
Just dodge everything, so pretty fast if you know where to go. So, as a reminder though, like the weapons we're using on Silica and Saber is using a fully forged Brave Sword, which is like a crit machine. We're getting to the point where Saber can't really kill everything in 2 hits reliably, so he needs to get crits, but he has a pretty high chance of critting everything. And Silica is basically swapping back and forth between the Blessed Sword for 1-range combat and the Majoring if she needs magic range. Now we are at the Sage's Hamlet, which is another village in Silica side, and we're talking to the Sage here to kind of hit some plot triggers. And now, because magic just happened, Alm can now reclass. And this is the main reason why you want to do Silica before Alm in Act 4, because you need to do Silica Act 4 to promote Alm in Act 4. So now we have 2 maps before the final dungeon for Silica side. Yes, we're getting pretty close to endgame already. And we just got Conrad. Remember? He's the guy who's a green unit that likes to steal kills and that I totally didn't have any profanity for. Yeah, he's in our party now. He's actually surprisingly good for a filler unit because he has pretty respectable stats. So he's that little mounted unit there. And we're going to give him a steel sword. And he's going to be pretty helpful in this map because
Let us proceed.
you're about to see... That's a lot of witches up there. That's a lot of witches. That's a lot of witches. You see all those witches? That's 8 witches right now. Yeah, 8 witches. That's a lot of them. And Conrad's really good at because he's mobile and he can just bonk them pretty easily. And Silica with the Majoring, she kind of almost died. Just ignore that. She can counter them too. He probably takes the most damage out of all of them because Conrad has 12 res and Silica only has 9. But so that's why Silica has the Majoring, so she can counter them. And now all the witches are cleaned up, so now we're just gonna kind of go into the building to try to kill everything. The one thing to note is Saber has to hit 22 speed. So 20 speed is the benchmark to double attack all enemy dread fighters. Like, you can actually see some other enemy dread fighters in this map. Let me mark them in yellow. Yeah, those are dread fighters. There's like another dread fighter up there. There's another one like here. And Saber, it's really important for Saber to be able to double attack them. So if Saber's at 20 or 21 speed, I use the Pegasus cheese on him to get him to 22. And like, because being able to double them means you have 2 chances to get a crit on them. Which he didn't not get, but you know, it happens. And oh yeah, say goodbye to Conrad. So our goal on this map is kind of just to have Saber go zigzag around this annoying map, and killing off the physical enemies. While Silica, she has range with the magic ring, so she's gonna equip it and finish off this Baron, the armored unit. Because again, as I mentioned before, Saber and Silica complement each other. Saber does really well against dread fighters. Silica does not because they take half damage from magic. Saber does not like armored units because he doesn't have that much attack power. He's going to do like no damage to them, even with crits. But Silica uses magic, so she just bonks them. And so on. Like, you can kind of see where this is going. They complement the enemy types very nicely in this game. This game is very much kind of a rock, paper, scissors kind of game. Like, you want to use dread fighters against enemy dread fighters. You want to use archers against other archers. Mages against armored units. And so on. So, like, that's just kind of how this game is built, because enemies are kind of, what's the word, homogenized or whatever the word is.
All right.
Like, if you have a good dread fighter, you can have that dread fighter take on like 4 at a time pretty well, and so on. So this game is kind of like it's a very matchup based game in a sense. So not much else to say. We're just cleaning up here.
All units, attack!
Okay.
I did have a question in chat earlier about what games you speedrun, and if Kirby is one of them.
I ran a Kirby game back in SGDQ 2013. And I actually was supposed to run Kirby Canvas Curse forever ago, but unfortunately, due to hand issues, I had to withdraw it. That was forever ago, though. And a really good runner named Glorious Liar ran Canvas Curse with me on couch a few years after that, and he did a fantastic job showcasing that. But I have speedrun a Pokemon game, Pokemon Puzzle League. Fun game.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, fun game. Watching the 4th gen gamer Josh try to learn how to play it was really funny because he's never played it, so it's kind of fun watching him struggle and just improve. Okay, so this map is actually a pretty complicated map. So we're actually going to be deploying our mage Sonya and Jenny, the healer that we used early on in the game. So this nerd up here, his name is Jetta. He's really tanky. He has an item called a Draco Shield, which is, it kills your offense. But, excuse me, it gives you 13 defense, 13 resistance. That is a massive amount of bulk. So, like, whatever attacks you do on him are just going to do no damage. We want that Draco Shield very badly for Alm. It is a very important weapon. Shield. And that means we want to kill him. And in order to kill him, he is immune to damage, any attack you do to him, but he takes damage from every 4 attacks. So what we want to do is we want to burn 3 attacks on him, and then the 4th attack has to be the killing blow. So what we're doing here is we're going to have Sonya, the purple hair mage here, with the mage ring. She has 5 range with thunder because she has the mage ring. So she's going to chip away at her dad, Jetta, spoiler alert. And then we're going to have Jenny move up above Sonya, trade the magic ring. Now Jenny can attack at 4 range, so this is attack number 2. So we're burning that attack on Jetta. Now on turn 2, Jenny's going to back off and give the mage ring back to Sonya, so Sonya can use thunder on Jetta again. That's attack number 3. And now we're on attack 4, so this is the killing blow. And this is where we need 33 attack, because Silica learned a really powerful spell named Ragnarok, and that is strong enough to pierce through Dragon Shield. But in order to kill him with Ragnarok without relying on a crit, we need 31 attack. We have 34. So we're going to trade the mage ring once again. Ragnarok. Let's see if I can... Yeah, so that's the combat forecast on Silica versus Jetta. And this is the 4th attack. So this will kill, assuming she doesn't miss 95. Knock on wood. And you can kind of see that her attack power is ridiculous. Like 54 attack with Ragnarok on Jetta's 25 resistance. And if you subtract 3, she would be dealing 26 damage on his 52 HP. So, which is exactly enough to kill him in 2 hits. So as long as we land 2 hits, or a crit 1 hit, and he's dead, and we got the Draco Shield. And now the rest of the map is we just have Silica run around and pick off these Armored Knights with Seraphim, because Saber doesn't do too well against them. And just kind of pick them off one by one. So it is faster to skip the Draco Shield. It saves like roughly 20 seconds, but like you're sacrificing so much reliability for Alm side of Act 4 that like it's just not worth it in my opinion. Like you just need that bulk reliability so badly. Otherwise you're opening up Alm to just dying to magic in 2 hits randomly in Act 4. So like, and given like all the luck-based things you've seen in this run, like I will gladly take a 20-second penalty for that reliability late game. But that is one point of improvement. If someone wants to learn this run and try to save 20 seconds and skip it, be my guest. Just don't cry about suffering Act 4. So this is our last village. So we're visiting the forgery again before we go to the last dungeon. We're selling almost everything we have. Our goal is to get Silica to 530 silver. Yep, so 537 silver, that's the goal. And you're gonna see a bunch of menuing. This is a steel bow we picked up at the start of Act 4. We are gonna do some quick menuing here and forge it into a level 3 killer bow. I will explain what that is later, but for now, we are gonna send it over to Alm. So, killer bow sent to Alm, Draco Shield sent to Alm, and we have a free peddler to send 1 stat booster to Alm, so we're gonna send a +2 attack stat booster to him. We can choose to use that stat booster on Silica if she needs it to hit 31 attack. And if so, then I can send a different stat booster over to Alm, like +2 defense. You just kind of have to just figure it out and play it by ear, depending on like what benchmarks you need. But Silica did find an attack. I want more attack on Cliff, so I chose to send attack to Cliff, who is on Alm side. So this is effectively the last dungeon in Silica side. So we have to climb up 4 floors in this dungeon, and this is a dungeon where fatigue actually comes into play because we're actually like spending more than 2 minutes in it. So this map is pretty scary. So what we want to put Silica in range of these 2 Arcanists, so she can counterattack them with the Mage Ring. We can have her counterattack all 3 of them, but she'll die because they all hit her like a truck. They do like 15 to 20 damage to her. So baiting out exactly 2 is like just enough to do some work on them without risking her death. And we're just having our other 2 mages, our flunky mages, kind of chill for a bit. What happened here? Actually, this is worth backtracking for really quickly. Let me see if I can backtrack just enough. We got really lucky here. I need to go back a little bit further. Okay.
Let us proceed.
The Saber's roll, that's a magic tile. So there is a Dread Fighter right here, a Dread Fighter here, and 2 off-screen Dread Fighters up there. Like this. So he is exactly in range of all 4 of them, while Silica is out of range of them. So Silica is killing 2 Arcanists. Saber will ideally kill all 4 Dread Fighters. He needs crits though. And again, this is a matchup-based game, so this is all about positioning your units to be in the right position for the appropriate matchups. And now we got lucky. All 4 Dread Fighters just died to Saber. Usually there's like 1 or 2 extra that are alive, but we got lucky. They all just died. So we actually ended this in 2 turns when it usually takes 3 turns. So we got very lucky there. That's pretty much how that map goes if it goes perfectly. So, 2nd floor. Again, we want to avoid enemy counters. And dashing and attacking like this is faster than just dashing normally, because the initial speed you get from like the dash attack gives you quite a bit of speed, and it's worth it. It's not much faster, but yeah. So this map is, if you have around 19 or 20 defense on Silica, you can kind of just end this map by throwing Silica in the middle, and she just kills everything. Yep, so everything's about to die. The only thing left is a Bow Knight, which we can't do anything about him because he has 5 range. We don't have anyone with 5 range. So we just finish him off on turn 2. Map done. Next floor. So you can kind of see us just moving through all these battles here. Alright, so we're actually going to see some important Metal Gear Solid here because there is a Dread Fight. We have to like, I use this little thing here as a cue for when to start sneaking because that right there, that is an enemy Dread Fighter. they will notice you very easily. They are very fast. If you aren't sneaky, they will catch you, and you will have to fight them, and that is time loss. So I have to like sneak by him and then just dash across. And yeah, there's a second one here too. So like if you dash too early, they're gonna catch you. And like I recommend you all pay attention to this mini map here, because like you can see the two red arrows. You can see the two red arrows here. Those are the two Dread Fighters. Pay very close attention to how close they are. And that one's chasing me and like right behind my back. So you have to be very careful when sneaking past them because they are so fast. And this is the map in the tower that's really scary because you see the skeletons. There's like there's a set of skeletons up there. There's one like here, and there's one like here. All of them have really scary weapons, like one of them has a brave sword. There's also one that has a shadow sword and one that has a silver sword. They all basically have roughly 30 attack, give or take, meaning they're doing about 10 damage per hit. Which doesn't sound like much if you're used to other RPGs, but keep in mind Saber and Celica have about 40 HP, meaning they will die in about 3 or 4 hits on top of everything else. So we're literally using our other mages as bait to help reduce the chances of Saber and Celica getting hit. So if you liked Jenny or Sonya, I'm sorry. They were sacrificed to help keep Saber and Celica safe. Yeah, and like you can kind of see Saber's relatively low on HP now. He's at 8 HP because he's been taking so many hits. And we just try to like dodge tank them because we're in these pillars that give like 40 avoid, I think. But now we're fine. Casually, this map is really scary because these Bow Knights have like, they cover the entire map, and if you have a lot of weak units deployed in the casualty, then they will just snipe them. But like, they don't do too much damage though, so they're not too much of a threat in the speedrun. We can't counter them, so we just have to pick them off one by one. And this is me feeding Saber some goodies because he's fatigued. Again, if you're fatigued, your maximum HP is halved. That's bad. Case. There is a random chance that this enemy here is a Dread Fighter. Dread Fighters are bad. You kind of see me pause buffering, and I'm just like panicking because I'm like, oh crap, that's a Dread Fighter. Please don't catch me. Okay, we're good. Usually that's an Armor Knight, but in this case we got unlucky and that's a Dread Fighter, so that's unfortunate. So, we'll see these enemies later, but that there and that right there, those are moguls, those eyeball enemies. They are very fast. They have 22 speed, I think. So it's really hard to double attack them. And they also have a chance to multiply. So our top priority is to get rid of them as soon as possible. So I'm going to try to put Saber in range of the eyeball at the top right corner. And Celica wants to like kind of move towards the upper left corner. She's a lot less mobile again. So she has a harder time getting to them quickly. You kind of see more and more eyeball spawning, which is why you want to kill them as soon as possible. But the enemies kind of hit hard in general, so kind of need to be a little careful here. And there's a bunch clustered at the top now. Yeah, this is pretty much the last map in the game for Celica outside of Endgame. So, like, once we're done, we're pretty much done with Celica side of Act 4 and getting close to the end of the run. So, yep, she runs to the top, talks to not-so-evil villain. Villain's like, hey, sacrifice yourself to save your friends. She's like, oh, sure. And then, oh, no, evil villain was lying. And then he's captured. So now we have to save her. Now we're playing as Almside on Act 4. But before we do that, we are saying hello to Thief Shrine again, the first dungeon in the game. Why? Because we can promote Alm into his next class, the hero class. Yeah. So, casually speaking, like, Alm is an interesting unit because, like, remember when you promote, if your stats are lower than the class's stats, your stats will go up to the class's stats. The hero stats are really, really good in general. Like, 14 speed is really high. Alm's starting speed is 6, by the way. So for him to match that, he needs 8 speed levels, which is his average speed at level 19. So Alm's just kind of the kind of unit where, like,
Retreat!
like, personally, I'd recommend you use him when convenient. If he gets good level ups, keep using him. But if his level ups suck, then just stop using him because he's just going to be bad in Act 3. And just let the hero promotion fix him. That's generally what I'd recommend people do. because the hero promotion is just really broken. Like the hero promotion matches Alm's averages at like levels 14 or 15. So it's usually not worth like dumping a lot of experience into him just to get a slightly better version of what you would have gotten anyways. Anyways, we just did a quick forge to get some valuable weapons on Alm and Cliff. So this is the rapier. Where did this come from? We got this as the Brave Sword from Celica. So remember, Celica sent over a unforged Brave Sword to Alm's side. We just evolved this into a level 3 rapier. And you kind of see its stats are decent. It's really accurate with decent crit. The might is not super good, but it's effective against cavalry and armored units, meaning it has 18 might on cavalry and armored units. Guess what we're facing? Like 80% of stuff we're fighting here are armored and cavalry. Alm's going to be putting in some work with this. And on Cliff's side, he is going to take the killer bow. This is the most broken weapon in the game. This is the most broken weapon in the game. Like almost everyone who knows this exists will agree. This is the most broken weapon in the game. Take what I said about the Brave Sword, turn it into a bow, give it 1 to 3 range, 5 range if you're a sniper, and also teach the most broken combat art in the game, which will just delete anything on the map. Like, the meta for the end game of this and the post game is just get as many bow users as possible and have them all have killer bows, because this weapon is just that good. It is so broken. And we got this bow from Celica side again. We sent it over from her. So now Cliff is running around with a 9 might 30 crit killer weapon with 5 range. He's really broken, and it's also got pretty good accuracy. So now he's just gonna go kill all of those Arcanists in the upper left corner, while Alm is going to be dealing with the armored units. So Alm is going to be barely out of range of those magic users because he does not like magic units. He doesn't like these armored units either because he's taking a lot of damage, which is why defense is very important. Like, again, Cliff has 5 range. He can counterattack every archer in the game now. And he can even just shoot these bosses across the wall here with the killer bow. He's basically a god at this point. And like, if you look at the splits, the Act 4 Alm side is less than 10 minutes long.
I feel a little better.
There's a reason for that, because we invested so much into Cliff to pretty much just destroy mid-game, endgame, and you're gonna see that kick into play here.
Don't worry about me.
So now, boss is dead. Like, let me just show you how broken the combat parameters are. Like, now that we're about to attack the boss of this map with Cliff, let me see if I can pause. That's a boss. That is a boss. 100 hit rates. He is doing, how much, what's the map? 18 damage per hit with a 58% chance to crit, and he has 2 chances of it. That sounds pretty broken, right? He's really broken. Unfortunately, he did not crit, but that's okay.
Heck.
Because, like, again, like, it's a high chance to crit, but a high chance is not 100%. So you always got to remember that.
It's more fun when we barely escape.
Yeah, that map went by very quickly. Next map is also pretty quick. This map is pretty scary for Alm because there's like 5 or 6 witches on this map that like to bully him, and like if any of them crit him, he's dead. But that's why we have the Draco Shield that we got from Celica side, because that gives Alm plus 13 resistance, which pretty much guarantees he will never die to a witch. So Alm is honestly kind of a liability on this map. Like, if a witch goes after him, he's just wasting time because he can't kill them reliably without putting himself in danger. We want everyone to go after Cliff, ideally. So, like, Alm is honestly just a liability on this map. Like, you can kind of tell, like, Alm's role in this run is, like, not as useful as, like, Celica's role. Because, like, Celica and Saber complement each other, and Celica's really valuable, but, like, Alm is... He's useful, but he's kind of just trained up only because he has to be, rather than... Not because he's, like, really good. He's solid, but he's not, like... He's not, like, as good as, like, Celica or Saber. But yeah, like, Cliff just killed everything. He also learned a combat art called Hunter's Volley. You'll see that later on in a run. But it is very broken. And, alright, so this is one of my favorite maps in the speedrun. I'll just let this speak for itself.
Just say the word.
I'll just let it speak for itself.
What?
Okay, map over.
What? Where'd they go?
Map over. That was the map. Usually that's a 3-turn because like Cliff needs like 27, 28 attack to kill everything without a crit. And you also need Soak to have 12 attack because every 2 points of attack is +1 warp range. But like, even if you don't have that, the map just goes by really quickly anyways. So, yeah. And right here, basically our goal is to have Cliff do as much combat as possible and Alm kind of stay out of it. So like, you see this entire group of enemies here? They're going to disappear next turn, just FYI,
Well, it's food.
because Cliff is broken. And they're dead. Most of them. Yep, they're dead. So Cliff isn't invincible though. Like, we do need to be a little bit careful with him and try to keep him at full HP because there's a bunch of enemies north of this river that he needs to kill, but like, there's a lot of dangerous enemies and that's why defense is still really important. So like, these 3 Arcanists here all have the death spell, which is like 18. I don't remember off the top of my head how much damage it does. It does a lot of damage. And like, Cliff has 10 resistance, but it's not like, it's not tanking it. He's still probably going to take like 15 to 20 damage per Arcanist. So that's why we're going to pick off one of these Arcanists at 5 range while avoiding their counterattack. And now he's just going to hopefully just kill everything up here instantly. Now, one of his weaknesses, similar to Saber, is that he doesn't like armored units, especially Barons, because the highest tier of the armored class line, they take half damage from bows. Although, Cliff is so broken, he pierces through that anyways and kills them despite doing half damage. So, like, yeah. So Cliff's kind of low on HP, but I decided to just go for it. Finish off some of these units up here. Oh yeah, Cliff just hit maximum level, by the way. He's capped. Now they're all dead. And there's like this one random Arcanist that Alm's gonna be taking care of.
I'll get this done.
Ooh, I was actually risking the game over there. That was a 99% chance to hit. If he missed, he would have died. Oh well. Alright, map over. Cliff just killed everything.
We made it.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that.
Like, this is why this act is so fun for me, because it's just so, I don't know what the right word for it is. Degen? I don't know. So mindless. And like all the effort that we put into dread looping Cliff, it just, this is the result of it. Like, we've seen some of the results in late Act 3, but like in Act 4 it's just like, oh, everything died. Oh, everything died. Cool. This map's a little bit more complicated because like you have these 5 columns with all these like bow knights that we kind of have to navigate through. And again, there's a lot of bow users that we have to counterattack, which conveniently enough, Cliff can counterattack because he has fire range. So we're going to warp Cliff into the column that he's in right now, and kind of, our goal is to kind of have him go all the way around like this. And just pretty much kill everything that he passes by. So, those 2 bow knights on the left, they're dead. Moves into this tile for +5 HP. Moves up. Throws the boss over. Boss did not die, actually. He survived. He must have like avoided a crit or something. But again, 70% crit chance is not 100%. So again, Cliff doesn't like armored units, but like, unfortunately, that one's running away, so we lost a bit of time here. That can't really be helped. I used to have a route where I have Alm help out Cliff with the armored units and just tag along, but like, it ended up being like 10 to 20 seconds faster just to have Cliff just take care of everything by himself. Instead of like moving Alm around and getting the extra level ups, having an extra unit to move per turn. Because like, the goal in a final speedrun is to be as brainless as possible. You want to use as few units as possible. So this is the last map of Act 4. That was quick, wasn't it? This is again one of very few defeat boss maps. So we don't have to kill everything on this map. We just have to kill the boss. And the boss is like all the way up there off screen, and like there's like a bazillion enemies like up here that will not move until you cross a line. I think it's like this line right here. They're not going to move until you cross that. So our goal is to move Cliff into a tile that makes the boss move, but while out of range of as many enemy units as possible, because these enemies are actually pretty dangerous, even for Cliff, despite his whooping 25 defense. If we're lucky, the boss will just die in enemy phase. Okay, we got lucky. Boss is dead.
Okay then.
Yeah. I think if Cliff has 29 attack, he kills the boss with 1 out of 2 crits. But if he has less than that, he needs a double crit. I'm not sure how much attack he has in this run, but he got lucky enough, so that's what matters. If he didn't kill the boss, we would just finish him off on the next turn. It's really easy. It's not a big deal.
It really shows that all that grinding, though, was really worth it earlier on.
Really paying off here. Like, yeah. So in the normal difficulty speedrun, we would not use Cliff. We just use Alm and Silica solo. And that actually comes with its own set of issues and reliability. So like, in a sense, the hard mode speedrun is easier than the normal mode speedrun to some degree. Because the hard mode speedrun basically requires like training up a really broken archer. We can just have the archer kill everything. Whereas in normal mode, we can get by without doing that. But because we don't have a broken archer, we have to deal with like trying to give Alm a really inaccurate bow to pick them off one by one. So, like, the late game in the hard mode is like way more reliable than the late game of the normal mode speedrun. Unironically. Oh yeah, Alm can use bows, by the way. After he promotes, he can use bows, which he actually used a bow once, Act 4, but he's going to be using a bow later on in this dungeon of Act 5, which is also, again, a very short segment. So we're pretty much just doing some dungeon running. There's only like 2 real maps left in the run. We're going to be fighting Berkut, and I'm going to be using these stat boosters right now as well. Berkut's kind of we haven't talked about the Berkut or too much about the plot, but like Berkut's kind of this villain who's he just kind of runs around and harasses you. And this is like the 4th or 5th time we're fighting him, and this time we're actually going to kill him. So that right there is Berkut, and he's kind of a horrible person and made his wife a witch. So I think fiance. I think they're engaged, not married. So this is still a route map, so we have to kill all these enemies up here, and they're actually really scary. Like these armored units, for example, do like 15 to 20 damage, even to Cliff. So our top priority in this map is to kill Renea, the wife, right now. So like I'm gonna be doing a warp to get Cliff up there, and then he's gonna be using the combat art Hunter's Volley. So the other reason why the killer bow is so good is because Hunter's Volley is stupid. Let me pull up what Hunter's Volley does and read it out for you. It gives +1 attack, +15 hits, +10 crits, and you attack twice before they counter. That sounds really broken, right? Do you think there's a catch to it?
Yes. Yes.
The catch.
Yes.
The catch is it costs 8 HP. That's it really.
Oh.
Which actually matters in a speedrun because like HP is really important.
Is that like risky then?
That's why you don't want to spam it too much in the speedrun because like the 8 HP does matter for bulk purposes, but like when you're playing casually, it's basically you just delete this because you're gonna have like 80 crit and 100 hit. So we're gonna be using that right now, Hunter's Volley on her. So like you can kind of see the massive amount of crit that so it's actually not a massive amount, but like we would have 100 hit and like 70 crit on her, but she's actually gets a lot of extra buffs because she's next to her husband. We're actually getting buffed ourselves because like I never mentioned it, but if Cliff is near Alm, he gets +5 hit, +3 crit. Like that's why a lot of times I'm trying to keep them a little close to each other to help Cliff with his accuracy and crit rates. But yeah, like we want to just kill her as soon as possible because she can warp our units up to her. And that's just really dangerous and asking for a game over. So it's just imperative that we just take her out immediately with Hunter's Volley. And now we just have to try to clean up. This Arcanist here, right here, is really dangerous. So we want to make sure that he can't attack anyone but Cliff, because Cliff is the one who can take minimal damage and just counter. So we're keeping Alm out of range of magic and trying to have him help out. We also have Silk heal Cliff to make sure he's healed up. We also have this random that grandpa that we're just using here now. He's Alm's adopted grandfather. Not gonna get too much into it. Oh, he's dead now. He's just kind of nice as a filler unit. That's about it. Now we're just trying to clean up all these armor knights and the other dread fighters, primarily with Cliff, but Alm's helping out too because he's using a weapon that's effective against armored units. So, and now I think, yeah, I think I decided to go for Hunter's Volley again on Berkut, the actual boss. So like, so now that Berkut's wife is dead, he doesn't have any support buffs from her anymore. So these are the actual like combat parameters for Hunter's Volley. Yeah, that's pretty broken, isn't it? That's
Just a little.
just a little. 74 crit. 74 crit. That's kind of good. Not gonna lie. He tanks it though, because Berkut's actually pretty tanky in this game, in this battle. And we just go for it again, and he's dead. So that map goes by really quickly. I just pause a lot to explain it because there is quite a bit that goes into it, and also a good opportunity to explain why Hunter's Volley is really broken. I guess the real weakness of Hunter's Volley is that you can only use it on your turn. That's the issue with it. Because like you can't choose to use it on an enemy face. But it's still like by far the best combat art in the game, and along with just a weapon that's really good in general for its range and high combat parameters. And that was not scary at all. Don't mind that. Not too much else going on here. We're just kind of trudging through the dungeon. The upcoming is what we call the Alm Trials. So this game kind of forces Alm to go by himself through like 3 or 4 maps, which is why Alm stats are pretty important, even though we haven't really used him that much. So we want to try to dump as many defense stat boosters onto him so he doesn't die. And Alm is going to be using the killer bow because he can use bows too. So he's going to go ahead and take the killer bow off of Cliff and just hopefully get as many crits as possible and get some decent level ups, hopefully. Like, yeah, if you look at Alm's stats, they're kind of underwhelming compared to Cliff's. But that's what happens if Cliff has like 50 extra level ups because he kind of dread looped. And
Get this done.
not getting the crits I want him to, so we're actually losing quite a bit of time here, but you know, it happens. So yeah, straightforward. Not much to say besides we're just having Alm kill everything, making sure he's not fatigued. He's a killer bow.
All right, let's go.
After this set of trials, we're gonna get the Falchion, which is kind of like the plot device weapon, and then we'll have the actual final battle of the game, which we get to use Silica again. Hooray! That is a pretty fast Alm. He normally doesn't hit 22 speed at this point.
Keep this up. I feel a little better.
Then be some dragons, and that Arcanist right there is really dangerous. So actually, Alm just learned Hunter's Volley, by the way.
Let's go.
But unfortunately, we did not crit. We did not kill the Arcanist because we did not get a crit. So I'm like, oh crap. Well, that's unfortunate, but it happens.
All right,
Again.
let's go. I feel a little
He has a high chance to crit, 2 chances of it, but that doesn't mean it's a 100% chance. And it happens. I think this is the first time I've seen him not crit that mage, ever. So like, that really goes to show how broken Hunter's Volley and the killer bow is, because like, yeah, like I have never seen him fail to crit that mage. Unfortunately, it happened in this run, but it's not a big deal. All right, so that's the Falchion trials, and we are now about to approach endgame. And endgame is like a 4 to 5 minute map, 4 to 5, not 45 minutes. Oh God.
Uh-oh. That'd be bad news if it was 45.
Yeah. So this is the last map in the game, and our goal is to defeat Duma the God, who is in the upper right corner. So right here, you see me just kind of doing some preps to make sure everyone has their corresponding weapons. We have both Alm, Silica, Cliff, and Saber on our team. Get to use everyone. Everyone's here, just like in Smash Ultimate. Well, everyone's that's not dead. We don't talk about that. So our goal, pretty much, is to get our entire group over to the upper right corner. And Silica is the bottleneck because she has 4 movement. Everyone else, everyone else has 5 movements. Saber has 7 as a Dread Fighter.
Just say the
So
word.
like basically we want to try to make sure that Celica is moving as far as possible per turn, because she's effectively the bottleneck. Everyone here kind of has an important role to play. Cliff is obviously the main combat unit because with his massive 5 range and ridiculous stats. Saber is the most mobile, so he's kind of good for like running ahead to pick someone off, or if someone's blocking the way. And he exists as a plot device. All his role is to deal the final blow because it's required, and that's it. He's not very good compared to our other units. And Celica, she's
Pretty good.
the magic powerhouse and our healer, because like I would like for her to attack more, but like we just literally have no other healers right now. So Celica is literally our only option to heal.
I feel a little better.
So, and we're just kind of making sure that our backs are cleared, making sure that no one can kill us from behind. This is a pretty scary map. Like, there's a lot of witches running around, but they're not too strong. This is also where the Draco Shield on Alm is nice, because it just ensures that he can't just get killed by a random witch. Also enjoying this epic song, because this song is really good. This game's OST is fantastic.
Food.
So I guess before we get to the final boss, we have to talk about a bit of a mechanic. So this final boss takes damage
I'll handle this.
until 52 HP. He has 200
Let's
HP.
go.
So I have this giant chart in an Excel sheet that based off of Cliff's stats and the results of his round of combat with the final boss, kind of tells me like what are the best odds to go with next. Because Duma, he is immune to all damage once he's at 52 HP or lower, except for the Falchion. So my goal is to bait him with Cliff. Cliff counters him. I want Cliff to bring him as close to 52 HP as possible. And then I want Celica to nail him with a Ragnarok with a magic hit. And ideally bring him to 1 HP. So I have this giant chart that I programmed to kind of just calculate, oh, if Cliff does this much damage, this much damage, this much damage, what are your odds of him getting this result if I just attack normally versus using Hunter's Volley, and so on. And there's like 4 different kinds of results that can happen where Cliff can hit the boss twice, or crit the boss once, or crit the boss twice. And I have to take into account all his permutations right now. So right now, the boss took 1 crit right now. So what I'm gonna try to do is, right now I'm like also using a spreadsheet on the side. And I'm using kind of a spreadsheet on the side and trying to like calculate if I want to attack the boss directly or try to use Hunter's Volley or just attack with Celica immediately. Because again, my goal is to get him as close to 52 HP as possible without hitting it. And what do I decide to do here? I decided to just go ahead and just do a standard attack, which works out because now he's probably like around 70 HP, something like that. And next move I'm going to do is have Saber move up here and grab the leather shield. And if you remember my grinding session with Saber, I gave him a shield so he can learn a combat art called Swap. That's why, just for that. All the way back like 2 hours ago. That's why. You can't always do this because we need because we have to be able to attack the boss at 1 range from 2 tiles. But the reason why this works out is because Silicon can reach the boss at 1 range and take less damage because the boss does physical damage at 1 range. But we have to make sure that Alm can reach the boss at 1 range as well. So if there's only 1 tile available, then we can't do this, and we just have to have Silica attack him at 2 range instead. But we're gonna go ahead and go with a Ragnarok, and you can kind of see the combat parameters here. The boss is like around 70-ish HP. We need a crit. That's what we need. We need a crit to bring him to 1 HP, which we did. And you kind of see me just go for the kill, and time. That's the run.
Yeehaw.
This went way more smoothly than it should, because like there is so much that can go wrong with this fight. Like if Silica doesn't get a crit, your choices are like try to bank on a crit with Alm, or like just undo that entire round of combat with Cliff and try to hope for different results, or just back off and burn like 2 or 3 turns to try to bait him again and repeat all of this all over again. Like I had a marathon run where I just did not get a crit for like 10 minutes straight, and I just kind of stalled, and I'm just like, why am I not getting a crit? Crap. Yeah,
I could imagine that is a horrible thing about running games like this, where just
You just
The
have to
game
hope.
can just say no.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. That just comes to the territory. Like routing this to have maximize your chances of it, and like even like programming this Excel sheet I have on the side to calculate this all for me is kind of fun. But at the same time, it also isn't great if it happens in a run, which has happened. But it comes to the territory. It happens. So
this is where
that
you
is Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia done in less than 2 hours on hard mode, and the current world record of the number one time out of one time, because I don't think anyone else has ran this. But I am trying to work on a guide for this and eventually normal difficulty too. Although I get that since it's on a 3DS, accessibility for running this game is kind of, for lack of a better word, ass, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But
It's
that's,
a little difficult to be able to get a capture card for running
Yeah.
3DS games, but
there's no good solution for it because it's like emulator, but that's also iffy because this game doesn't run well in emulator.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get into that. Basically, it sucks.
Well, Kirby, thank you for showcasing this run for us and breaking down this run. It was super, super informative and great to hear your thoughts and everything that's gone into this run. I do want to give you an opportunity to, one, let us know where to find you and what to expect if we were to come to your stream, and then two, just any other shout outs you'd like to give before we wrap up the show.
Yeah, well, I want to give a shout out to Nukes for hosting this first. Thanks a lot to her and her lovely family, Spike, Vegeta, and her lovely pets, Kittymon and Bagel. They're very supportive. Let me post your emotes in chat. There you go.
Very important shout out there.
There's the Nukes family right there. But I think the victory lap idea is fantastic, and you get to see a lot of viewers. I mean, I'm a speedrunner myself, so I understand like a lot of what goes into this. But like, I can imagine from a viewer perspective that it's a lot harder to see a lot of the inside details of what goes on without things like this. And like, I don't commentate every single run because like I could always beat it anytime I want. Like I could always beat like a PB I'm happy with at some point. And like it's also just a lot of effort. So like having the opportunity to like commentate stuff like this in front of like a bigger audience is honestly a really cool idea, and I want to keep supporting this. And you get to see that's another side of speedrunning that you just won't get if you just watch a world record, basically. And I respect this a lot. So shout outs to Nukes for this idea and having me on the show, and all the other runners that have been on the show in the first place.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you can follow me on twitch.tv/currymaster with the capital H at the end. That doesn't matter, don't worry.
Kirby Master.
Yeah. Nowadays, I've been streaming the Sonic Advance series, and also once I finish rerouting the money to save like 3 seconds, I'll be streaming more of this game. But generally speaking, you can find me running Sonic 2D Sonic games, and also like various Fire Emblem speedruns as well. From a randomizer perspective, I also occasionally stream 2D Zelda randomizers, especially Minish Cap, and also like the Metroid Prime randomizers too. Randomizers are fun. Randomizers are life. And I do also want to give a shout out to Gordon and P. Vladias. They are both, so like there's also like there's like the entire online Fire Emblem community that they aren't like, usually like a lot of the online Fire Emblem community are like a lot more focused on like casual Let's Plays or like LTCs, which is like a low turn count, efficiency playthroughs and stuff like that. And there's like a lot of people who are much familiar with this game than me, and know a lot more than me about this game, that also have helped out with speedrunning as well. So like, this run wouldn't have been without people like that, especially P. Vladias and Gordon, who are both very familiar with this game and have thrown a lot of ideas at me to try optimizing this more and more. So definitely shout outs to them. And you can also, if you're interested in speedrunning Fire Emblem as a whole, you can find the Discord. I mentioned this before, I don't have the link handy on me, but you can find it on speedrun.com in Three Houses page for sure. I'm not sure if it's on the other Fire Emblem pages, but definitely Three Houses. Three Houses especially has guides for it, and a lot of Fire Emblem speedruns tend to be pretty scripted for the most part. Like whether they're RNG manipulated or not, they tend to be relatively scripted. Like there isn't really too much variance outside of hitting benchmarks. It's like, do this if you hit this benchmark, if not, you have this as a backup. Like most Fire Emblem speedruns are like that. This is kind of the exception, honestly, because like there's just so much that can go wrong that it's like non-stop improvisation. But I do think like a lot of Fire Emblem speedruns tend to be easier to get into because they are kind of like just following a flowchart that you have to practice, basically. Yeah, but let's not read the credits. We don't read the credits. So, yeah.
Rip everyone.
Yeah, like, and I also just want to make two more things clear. Like, everyone starts somewhere. Like, I'm known for being like, I guess people have called me like the god of Fire Emblem speedrunning and stuff, and like, I definitely have speedrun the most Fire Emblem out of everyone. But like, I started off not knowing how to menu at all. Like, you do not want to see my menuing back in like 2013 or something. Everyone starts somewhere, and that's perfectly okay. If you suck at menuing or are really slow at it and learning how to like memorize the strats, that's okay. Everyone starts somewhere. It took me a while to get used to it. I've speedrun a lot of Fire Emblem games at this point, so it comes naturally to me, but like, that's also only because I have so much experience with it.
And as Richard
So, like,
said,
yeah.
if you chat run this category, you can be the second place runner.
You can get a second place. I actually need to ask for a leaderboard for this because it doesn't exist yet. But, and the other thing I want to note, like I've touched on this before, but like a lot of people tend to be scared about Fire Emblem because of permadeath. This isn't really strictly speedrunning, but I do want to like, a lot of the more modern Fire Emblems do have a casual mode, which means like if someone dies, they come back alive and they're not dead permanently. I encourage everyone to try playing both the older and the newer games. Do not feel ashamed to play on easier difficulties. Anyone who shames you should screw them, for lack of a better phrase. But I will also encourage people to trying out permadeath, because it does teach you how to play the game. Like, learn how to play the game without like relying on like trying to sacrifice units. But I will also say that if that's not your style, that's perfectly okay too. I know a lot of people who play Fire Emblem just because they want to just like throw units at someone with mindlessly and train them up, and that's perfectly okay. I do that myself too. And you can play the game however you want. And that's kind of what I want to say with respect to that too. So play the game however you want and enjoy it. I think it's a very enjoyable series overall. Not necessarily for everyone, but that's okay. So that's
thank you,
pretty much
Kirby.
the only thing I have left. So yeah, thanks a lot, Nukes.
Thank you for giving us all your knowledge here. I had a lot of great feedback from chat tonight about all your commentary and making this super interesting and understandable for a very technical speedrun with a lot going on, especially with the math and everything. Chat, that is it for tonight for GDQ Hotfix. But make sure to check in tomorrow starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll have Challenger Approaching, followed by Legally Cute. Everybody have a great rest of your night and stay cute, chat.